first half of the overnight hours. Some moderate downpours going to be expected. Friday, very similar conditions. Coverage decreased just a tad bit and will continue to rise as we head towards the upcoming weekend with the feels-like temperature close to 101 into Saturday and 97 degrees into Sunday. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist James Gosh.
We know it's early. Mike's not totally awake yet either. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
We've said it a lot, and it's true. On the Missouri side, whoever wins the Republican primary in many of these races, that's who's going to win the general election. That's just the reality of it. In the 6th Congressional District, Sam Graves retiring, and whoever wins that Republican primary is going to be the next member of Congress from there. I know there are Democrats running, but they're just irrelevant because the Republicans are going to win that general election. At 7:35, you're going to hear from one of those candidates. Chris Stigall is going to be with us. And by the way, it looks like this could be a pretty close race, and that primary is really what matters there. Good morning. Happy Thursday. Mike Ferguson here. A lot of ground to cover today. By the way, if you haven't checked out our podcast, make sure you're subscribed to that. We've had some really interesting conversations and guests, particularly in the last week or so. One of those was something you don't think of often. You know, we just assume we've got religious freedom in this country. Of course we do. But depending on where you are in the country, you have a little more or a little less. Matter of fact, there's a big difference between how much the government protects your religious freedom in Illinois versus Missouri. But here's the thing. It's not in the order you would think. Mark David Hall from the Center for Religion, Culture, and Democracy was part of the new Religious Freedom in the States report that just came out with First Liberty, and he had some really interesting takes on this. Here's what he had to say Thursday morning.
We've got religious freedom in this country. I mean, we do, but does the level of freedom of religion vary from state to state?
Ooh.
It should not. You either have religious freedom or you don't have religious freedom. But I think to get to the answer to that question, you have to start with why does it matter? And secondly, how are we going to define what religious freedom is? It's not just a wonky academic thing. This is something that affects all of us, regardless of what your faith is, or regardless of whether you have any faith at all. I'm now joined by Mark David Hall, Dr. Mark David Hall, the Center for Religion, Culture, and Democracy. And Mark David, it's good to get with you again. It's been a while since we've talked. I think I was doing my national show back last time we chatted. But you got a new study out with First Liberty, and it is religious liberty in the states. And one of the most fascinating things about this is it doesn't necessarily line up the way I think a lot of a conservative audience would think, in that it's just red states, religious freedom, blue states, anti-religious freedom. It really didn't shake out like that. But the first question before I get to how that happened is, why does it matter? Why does it matter that we look at what entails a robust defense of religious freedom in America, religious liberty, and why does that matter to all of us, whether we're people of faith or not?
It's a great question, Mike. Thank you. Let me begin by defining religious liberty. Religious liberty is an ability to believe whatever you want, to worship however you want, but critically important to act upon your religious convictions whenever possible. Now, there has to be a limiting principle, obviously. We could talk about that later if you'd like. But people need to be free to run their businesses, to go into the public square and make arguments and not leave their faith behind. And so we're real interested in protecting that. Now, when Americans think about protecting religious liberty, we immediately think of the First Amendment. And it's not a bad thing because it does protect religious liberty. But because of the 1990 Supreme Court decision, it protects religious liberty a lot less than it used to. And so it's become critically important for states to step up and protect religious liberty. And as you suggest, they can choose to do so or not. We look at 50 distinct ways that states can make the choice to protect religious liberty, or they could choose not to, and they vary dramatically in how well they do that.
What are just give me a couple of basic examples of areas where a state would not respect religious liberty, because some of this does get into ideology. I mean, it all gets into ideology to some degree, but what would be an area where a state would get dinged on the survey for not respecting religious liberty, and what would be a proactive way a state would get credit for respecting religious liberty?
Sure. Well, probably the number one thing a state can do is pass a Religious Freedom Restoration Act. These became necessary after that 1990 Supreme Court decision I mentioned. Congress passed a Religious Freedom Restoration Act, but the U.S. Supreme Court pretty rapidly said that can't apply to the states. And so in response, about 29 states to date have passed a Religious Freedom Restoration Act, which provide the broadest sorts of protections. And so we really like to see that. And that has been, in the 20th century, is interesting. It was just as likely to go on in blue states as red states. Over the last 10 years or so, the blue states have largely gotten out of the business of passing things like that. And in fact, they've actually worked at repealing religious liberty protections, whereas blue states have, in fact, been passing new religious liberty legislation. 8 states over the last 10 years have passed Religious Liberty Restoration Acts, for instance. All of them are red states.
How much of that's going to be just sort of virtue signaling for a conservative audience? And let's be honest, in a red state, it would be a lot of times an evangelical Christian or a Catholic audience versus something that solidifies true threats to religious freedom, maybe from, overly zealous, anti-religious, communities or something like that. What would be something that would be a concrete defense? What are we defending from?
Basically, the overreach of the state. So, for instance, just give an example. During the pandemic, too many governors became way too quick to shut things down and to shut things down really, really hard for churches. And so we had ridiculous instances where you could have hundreds and even thousands of people in a casino, but even in a very large church, there was a limitation of how many people could go to that. In response to the pandemic and these abuses, something like 18 states have passed laws saying that if we ever have a pandemic again, and hopefully we won't, but if we ever have one again, governments cannot treat churches any less well than they treat similarly situated businesses. So there still might be room for masking and lockdowns and whatnot, but governments or governors specifically can't discriminate against houses of worship. And note that houses of worship, we're talking about churches, obviously, but also mosques and synagogues and really any house of worship. So it's not a Christian-centric thing. It's a religious liberty-centric thing.
Okay, so the Religious Liberty in the States Index is published now. I just put it up on the Rumble chat box. Jerome, can we throw that up on the other social media as well? And First Liberty Institute, the Center for Religion, Culture, and Democracy published that. And Arkansas now designated the best state for religious liberty. What did Arkansas do differently to move it? Because a lot of people may be surprised. I'll just tell you, Mark, the follow-up question is going to be Illinois was actually pretty high on this list, and that's going to surprise a lot of people.
We have gotten into so much trouble because of Illinois, so let me address that first.
Sure.
A lot of conservatives see our study, they see Illinois ranked well, and they say, obviously, it's flawed. We got that question so many times, we took a deep dive into it, and it turns out that every single protection Illinois has was passed before 1999, with one exception, and then in the 21st century, it's actively been trying to repeal legislation, religious liberty legislation, but it hasn't been able to, and this is a very important lesson. Once religious liberty laws are on the books, or any laws for that matter, they're really hard to get off. And you and I remember that Illinois is very different in the late 20th century. Republicans routinely won the state. You routinely had a mix within the state house. And I think basically responsible Democrats and Republicans came together to pass religious liberty legislation in the 20th century. If you compare that, for instance, for Colorado, which was equally conservative, but the legislators there didn't bother passing religious liberty legislation when they could, and Colorado's now ranked 41st. As to Arkansas was not ranked that well about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. I think it was about right in the middle of the pack. But since then, it has just been aggressively passing religious liberty legislation. It passed a Religious Freedom Restoration Act. It passed a broad medical conscience protection to ensure that medical professionals can't be forced to participate in an abortion, in contraception, or sterilization against their religious convictions. And then most recently, just last year, they passed a really innovative piece of legislation that basically protects clergy and wedding vendors and public officials from having to participate in wedding ceremonies to which they have religious or moral objections. And I think this is obviously aimed at, say, the wedding vendor cases. Jack Phillips, who's been just harassed, to no end in Colorado. That no longer is possible in the state of Arkansas.
Is there a place to say religious liberty could be I guess, intellectually, honestly checked by like a public accommodation law, or should the freedom of conscience and religious liberty trump that? Because I personally think that you can let the market decide whether your religious liberty is a good or bad thing for your business. But how do we navigate that conflict, which we see in everything from, Kansas City had a case on that, and then obviously the Colorado case, and New York's had cases like that. How do we, as I guess people who say we value liberty, navigate those conflicts?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned before, religious liberty has to have a limiting principle. And, I think the most obvious example is physical harm. So to give an example used by a Supreme Court justice in a Supreme Court case, if you had a sun worshiper who wanted to sacrifice a baby to the sun god, even if that person was completely sincere in this conviction, obviously the state's going to step in and say, no, you can't do that. We have a compelling interest in prohibiting you from doing that. And so I think in some areas that clearly exist. Where it comes to the conflict between religious liberty and laws prohibiting discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, I think we just need to be clear-eyed. We need to recognize, for instance, that something like only about half of the states even have laws prohibiting discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation. We're in those states, which tend to be blue states, like my home state of Oregon, the climate is such that no one wants to be known as someone who discriminates against that community. And so even if we had no laws in place, I think the market would take care of the concern of that some people have, that a wedding vendor has a religious conviction not to participate in an active way in a same-sex wedding ceremony. But almost no wedding vendors have that conviction. Plenty of wedding vendors are happy to serve any customer. And in fact, the Alliance Defending Freedom surveyed all of the florists in eastern Washington, where a case involving a florist arose, and they only found the one example of a wedding vendor who had conscience objections to participating in same-sex wedding ceremonies. And if you think about the half of the states that we don't have laws banning discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, you almost never hear of news stories of discrimination coming out of those states. And I think it's for the very reason you identified. Business owners have profound incentives to serve customers, not turn them away.
We are visiting with Dr. Mark David Hall, the director of the Religious Liberty in the States Project. And so basically, you're free to participate in whatever you want, but you should not be compelled to participate if you have, I would even say, some people say a sincerely held belief. I would say you should have the freedom to not participate just because you don't want to.
When we're talking about religious liberty legislation, the First Amendment obviously singles out religious liberty. Some state laws do. Many state laws agree with you. They say if someone has a religious or moral objection to A, B, or C, participating in abortion or participating in same-sex wedding ceremony or handling pork, all these things should be protected, right? Yes, I agree absolutely. If it's either religious or moral, conscience should be always protected.
Okay, just last minute or so we've got here, Mark. We mentioned Illinois actually ranks fairly high on this. Where does Missouri rank here in the St. Louis area?
I'm sorry to say that Missouri is ranked 29th.
Wow.
It's, not horrible. It could be better, but you all got to get to work. There's some pretty important legislation that you could pass. General conscience protection for medical professionals, probably number one on the list.
All right, and we can find this list, and we can learn more about the work that's being done, and more importantly, why? Because I suspect that those who are listening and they're more on the left, they're going to say, oh, yeah, there you go, you conservatives just trying to legislate your thing. It's really not that when you look at it in context.
There's no protection that singles out Christians for protection, and there are a few that actually are far more likely to protect non-Christians, especially Jews and Muslims, than Christians. So, yeah, I encourage you, anyone can go and look at the study, look at the rankings, and then actually look at the laws. We provide links to every law that we consider. So if a state has a law, we link to it, and you can go and look at what that law looks like and decide if it would be a good law to have in your state if your state lacks it.
All right, once again, we've got Flashback Friday coming up tomorrow, so send us your bump music request. Only rule, got to be from the 80s. Send those to Jerome or just send them on our social media channels right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new NewsTalk STL app.
Love the all-new NewsTalk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the NewsTalk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
You work hard, follow the rules, and get absolutely slammed by taxes. Your paycheck, taxed. Your property, taxed. Everything you buy, taxed. Missouri's tax system isn't broken, it's rigged against you. The lawyers and lobbyists working for big corporations and the super rich buried over 200 loopholes for themselves in our tax code. While they pay nothing on the services they use, working families are taxed over and over. It's no wonder they're lying about Amendment 5. Our corrupt tax system is rigged in their favor. They're getting a free ride on your back. Don't believe their lies. The truth is, Amendment 5 closes loopholes exploited by the super rich and slashes taxes paid by Missouri's working families, phasing out income taxes and cutting property taxes. They finally pay what they owe while you keep what you earn. Vote yes on Amendment 5. Paid for by Missouri Promise PAC.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA SIPC.
Summer's here, and so is the freshest produce in town. At Anthony's Produce, we specialize in locally grown fruits and vegetables, straight from the farm to your table. Homegrown tomatoes, sweet corn, juicy cantaloupe, watermelon, and peaches, just to name a few. Plus, thousands of locally made products you won't find anywhere else. Need a fruit or vegetable tray for your next gathering? We've got you covered. Anthony's Produce on Jungerman Road or at anthonysproduce.com. Open 7 days a week.
Do you know why I endorse Cafe Napoli, all the locations? Visit any of them, and you will quickly appreciate the quality of food, service, atmosphere. So maybe I'll see you at Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli Kirkwood, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C. Or maybe you'll find me at Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the Chesterfield Valley. Now you know why I endorse Napoli, NapoliSTL.com.
Oh, Adam, you are so romantic. And I love the kitchen you found with all these great crumbs.
Yeah, baby, only the finest crumbs in the kitchen for my favorite aunt. Oh no, it's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They always kill the mood.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888. We'd love to help you out. Learn more about our special $67 offer. You can visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
As Tim Jones calls it, campaign silly season is here. Yeah, I wish I could take credit for that, but that's been a Tim Jones thing for years, and Tim and I have known each other for, over 15 years, probably, maybe longer at this point. But now the campaign silly season is here. I've just got kind of a blanket question, not related to anything like right in front of us, but we've got the midterms coming up a little bit later on today. I literally a few minutes ago came across this report. The Hill published it. And so, The Hill they try to be objective, but you can see that they're a little bit slightly leaning left. But they published a post from the, what they call the Decision Desk headquarters. So the political analysis and campaign analysis and election analysis organization regarding the likelihood of Democrats reclaiming the House, Democrats reclaiming the Senate, et cetera, et cetera. And a little bit later on today, we'll get into that. But it just got me thinking, and I'm just going to throw this out to everybody. So 314-912-1019 or send us an email or send us a note on social media. What is that like red line or green flag that says I will vote for this candidate or I will not vote for this candidate? And sometimes that can be as simple as, are they a Republican or a Democrat? Mm-hmm. Others, it could be something like Second Amendment, or it could be abortion. Either way, It could be, do they support Donald Trump or not support Donald Trump? That sort of thing. So I'm just kind of curious. Every few years, I just kind of throw that up there because I'm curious where people are as our politics evolves. Is there an issue? Is there a trait? Is there something that would make you say, nope, not you? Even if everything else I like or I'm agreeing with, that thing says no. Or is there that thing that says, okay, you get my vote? I'm just kind of curious. And so we can, maybe go around the room later, but I'm curious and I want to know what people think. So send me a note or give me a call and let me know what you think about that. I mean, what is it that would do it? And for some people, it really is, well, whoever my party nominates. It's a binary choice. We talked to Tony Kennedy about that a couple weeks ago. And I'm even if I don't like him, I'm going to vote for him. But I look at around the country and I'm just as curious as what people on the left say as people on the right, because we're sitting here and those of us who are on the right, we're looking at Maine and going, how in the world can somebody like Graham Plattner get a nomination when you had, other candidates to pick from, candidates that I wouldn't like either way. But how did that happen? How does somebody like a Mamdani, go through? And I understand the youthful sort of thing. And we've talked about the socialism thing, in St. Louis, how did Cori Bush 4 years ago unseat, a dynasty in St. Louis politics? And so, it's like, what is it about that? And sometimes there are just flashes in the pan and the criteria changes. And so maybe we're in one of those moments. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if you are a party hardliner, it becomes much simpler, I think, to cast your vote because you can say, well, I trust my party to make that decision, and therefore I need to show up and support. You would not question the. It's
about the party.
Yes, you would not question the coach when he swaps out players here and there, or trades players, stuff like that. Because if you trust the coach that well, me personally, I don't vote for ugly people. I don't want somebody that's going to make my district look bad. So
did you say ugly people?
Yes. That I would say is in my top 5 things. No, but no,
fine, I'm never running for office.
I know.
I cannot get Jerome's.
I can't run for office. I wouldn't vote for myself either. So. but no, there are, I think, a few issues that people, I think, should have as a. I'm putting my foot down right now. So freedom of speech, Second Amendment stuff for me is very big. Yeah. It does seem like on the left side of things, where the blue donkeys are, it is. If you were the opposite, the polar opposite of the traditional stereotypical white American Christian, then they are more likely to vote for you than if you are that.
Okay, so 620. I'm going to toss this out there for 620. And really, I'm not even going to argue. Is it whether I think you're right or wrong, or I agree or disagree? I'm just curious where that is. I kind of want to get that discussion started because you said for a lot of people it really is the party. And okay, what I'm going to say now is going to make somebody mad, but I don't mean it to. If you're one of those people who says, well, they've got an R or they've got a D, that's good enough for me. That's a very easy way. You don't have to put a lot of intellectual investment in it. You just say, well, this Republican or Democrat, that's it. That's what I know. That's enough. Then that's not thinking it through on your own. But again, I'm not actually saying that that's necessarily a bad thing. I know a lot of people do that. They say that party is so bad, they're so far out there that I just have to make sure that we're opposing them. Okay, well, all right. So 620. Let's do that on 620. By the way, the president is doing another one of his national addresses tonight, 8 o'clock. We are going to carry it here on News Talk STL. I didn't read up on what it is that he's going to talk about. I'm sure it's going to be the war in Iran and all kinds of stuff like that. So, but he is going to do a national address tonight. I suspect broadcast TV is not going to carry it, but the conservative cable outlets probably will. But we're going to carry it here on News Talk STL as well. So 8 o'clock. Well, I'm sure I'll have a couple sound bites in the news thing tomorrow, but that's going to happen. So just so you know, that's a programming note here.
Bengal's restaurant offers an inviting atmosphere, neighborly service, and a vibrant happy hour scene, all in the heart of Warson Woods. From their kitchen to your plates, beloved comfort favorites like chicken parmesan and lasagna to steakhouse-style classics. Slide up to the vintage bar or hit the patio for happy hour specials every Tuesday through Friday. Bengal's Restaurant and Bar, 10017 Manchester Road. Check out the menu and reserve a table online at bengalsrestaurant.com.
It's a brand new show on News Talk STL, JC's Sunday Showgram.
Next Monday is the anniversary of the moon landing in 1969. I have some great stories. Plus, one of the strangest and most devastating weather events took place this week in 06. How many days was your power out? Plus, Roger Daltrey of The Who talks about his St. Louis area connection. All brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group.
Sunday morning, 7 to 9. Then podcast each Monday on NewsTalkSTL.com.
Tim Jones here from my great friends at Comprehensive Chiropractic, the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. How do I know? Simply put, they've helped me on many occasions. Here's another solution to your everyday aches and pains. The Studio Health and Wellness Center. Services include Pilates and yoga, both with certified instructors. I can also highly recommend the massage therapy, which is not an indulgence. It's a proven method of healing and restoration. Trust my friends at Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka. CChiropractic.com. That's CChiropractic.com.
There's an old way to buy a mattress, and there's a new way. You know what's funny? People spend more time reading reviews for a blender than choosing the mattress they'll sleep on every night. We've always thought that was backwards. At Snooze Mattress Company, we use advanced pressure mapping technology to help match your body to the right sleep system. No guessing, no pressure, just a better way to shop for better sleep. Stop in during our 4th of July event sale. When you sleep better, everything gets better.
Hey, firearms enthusiast, looking for a family and veteran-owned shop with a wide selection of products and services? Head to DG Firearms, 115 Business Highway 61 North in Bowling Green. DG Firearms has been your one-stop shop for custom ARs, Cerakoting, laser engraving, gunsmithing, suppressors, ammo, and reloading supplies. DG Firearms, 115 Business Highway 61 North in Bowling Green, and online at dgfirearmsllc.com.
Stop before you dig. Click or call 811. Every dig, every time.
Hitting an underground utility can cause costly damage and serious injury. Contact Missouri 811 online or simply dial 811 at least 3 working days before you dig. It's fast, free, and the law. Safety is in your hands. Every dig, every time.
Stop before you dig. Click or call 811. Every dig, every time.
It's the law. Sponsored by Missouri 811.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at
NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Tightening the screws on Iran, the U.S. stepping up airstrikes on the Islamic Republic as control of the Strait of Hormuz remains key to the dispute between Washington and Tehran. The American military struck multiple sites,
hitting targets farther north as well as areas around the capital, Tehran, and firing into a ship accused of trying to break the U.S. naval blockade. Iran again retaliating with missile and drone fire targeting Bahrain and Kuwait. Tehran says U.S. strikes have killed more than 35 people in recent days and wounded more than 300.
I had to take tough action because they did not obey what they're supposed to obey. I mean, they just didn't do it.
But at the U.S. Army War College in Pennsylvania Wednesday, President Trump insisted Iran is looking to strike a deal. That interim deal to end the war appears to have been shredded. I'm Ben Thomas.
The president addresses the nation this evening. Primetime speech in the White House expected to focus, at least in part, on election integrity.
It's really big news. It's really, really big news. And our country has to shape up. But that's what we're going to be talking about Thursday is it doesn't get bigger because without free and fair elections, you don't have a country. We'll be discussing other things too, but it's going to be a very big announcement.
There have been dozens of high water rescues across parts of waterlogged south central Texas, flooded by days of torrential rains. Across the northern U.S., you can add choking smoke to the heat and humidity smothering a vast area. Close to 200 wildfires in Canada, filling the air on this side of the border with a smoky haze. On Wall Street this morning, stock futures are mixed. The Dow futures up 108 points, while the NASDAQ futures are down 185 points. S&P futures off 13. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-555-2085. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-555-2085. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-555-2085. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-555-2085 or Big.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch with your first alert forecast. Temperature is going to climb towards that 90-degree mark. It feels like temperature close to about 98 degrees this afternoon. Some scattered showers and storms after the noon hour. That'll continue to follow towards the first half of the overnight hours. Some moderate downpours going to be expected. Friday, very similar conditions. Coverage decreased just a tad bit and will continue to rise as we head towards the upcoming weekend with the feels like temperature close to 101 into Saturday and 97 degrees into Sunday. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Business owners, download your free playbook for financial clarity at SerenityWealthBiz.com. That's SerenityWealthBiz.com.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote quality Christ-centered K-12 education nationwide.
Hi, this is Chris Stigall with the Herzog Foundation. We offer a wide variety of resources relevant to today's families, including a free online publication called The Lion. The lion is one of God's most majestic creatures, symbolizing strength and courage. Named for its attributes, the Lion publication carries articles covering a wide range of topics facing American families and culture, especially related to the education of children. The Lion can be found online at readlion.com. That's READ lion.com.
Sign up for The Lion at readlion.com and find dozens of must-read articles published every day. Visit readlion.com and subscribe for the weekly and daily digests so you never miss an article. Readlion.com. That's readlion.com.
On the next, Larry Connors USA.
The story behind the story, the plane crash that killed John F. Kennedy Jr.
Larry Connors USA.
Now, weeknights 6 until 8.
On News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
Shut this sucker down.
Susie Moore.
I disagree on his assessment of the situation.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
You're not supposed to lie, but you're definitely not supposed to lie when you're under oath.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, let's start with the big issues here. Just a moment. The big issues.
Big issues.
Daylight savings time.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh,
such a big deal.
Yes. Okay. See that reaction? So many people have the exact same reaction when you bring that up.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, because I think we touched on this for like a second yesterday.
Yeah.
But it's like it could happen this time. So I'm going to get into that in just a minute. So just before you walked in, Susie, we were just kind of tossing something around. So 6:20, I'm going to put like a very basic question out there, but I want to say it now so people have time to kind of like percolate it in your noggins. Very simple question. What are the things that would make you say, nope, not that candidate. I'm never voting for them, or I'm not voting for them right now, or yes, heck yes, I'm voting for that candidate, right now. And it could be anything, and I'm not interested in arguing with people whether it's right or wrong. It's your choice, whatever it is to you.
Wait. We're a talk show, and you're not interested in arguing about whether someone's right or wrong.
I'm interested in
comparing.
Oh, there's so many things wrong with me. But I'm interested in comparing notes. And yes, I mean for the we do have Democrats and those on the left who listen as well. There's only a few of them who jump in every now and again. But I'm just curious, and especially obviously for everybody on the right as well. What is that line in the sand, good or bad? Because I'm just kind of curious where people are as far as who you're about to pick in the primaries and the general election. And so what is that? To some people, it's like there's one issue, that's the line, it's that one. I don't care about if I agree with you on everything else. If you're wrong on this, then no. Or I can disagree with you on stuff, but if you get this right and this is my thing, I want to know what that thing is, if that makes sense.
So what Mike's basically trying to say is he wants to figure out how many of you guys are going to vote wrong this upcoming election.
And then judge you.
And then why? Yeah, just why? Okay, so 620, I just kind of want to throw that. We got a couple people kind of commenting on that already here. Okay, so the House passed the bill to get rid of daylight savings time. Now, there's some caveats in it.
No, it doesn't get rid of it. It makes it permanent.
Oh, all right, makes it permanent. Right, yeah.
Right. It gets rid of the switch back and forth.
The switch back, yeah, that's the better way to put it. It gets rid of the switch back and forth. But I understand, like, states could still, like, opt in or opt out if they wanted, but it would generally, for all intents and purposes, get rid of the switching back and forth.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. So a little more complicated than it should be. This is one of those things where I'm like, to me, it's weird to me how that 1 hour switch throws people off so bad twice a year, because then again, I work such a weird schedule. But that 1 hour thing to me is like, if I fly to the East Coast, I'm not really thrown off by an hour.
Yeah.
Different. It's just, but the time change really throws people off. And if I fly to an hour behind us or something, it doesn't throw me off that much. But it messes up a lot of people. And then obviously, it used to be, before everything automatically reset on our clocks, used to be that people would be showing up late to work and kids were, late to school or showing up early. Or, my dad used to tell one of his favorite stories on a daylight savings time thing, where there was like this little lady in a church in Pittsfield, Illinois, just over, actually, I think Pittsfield might be in our listening area now. But he pastored this little Baptist church in Pittsfield. And there was, I guess, a little old lady who she just got caught by the time switch. And this is going back to the 70s. And so there was like one time that I guess she was coming in, like just as they were starting the service. So, but it was that daylight savings. And so he had actually, little church, he'd prepped everybody to do a prank on her. And my dad was not a prankster. He was really not a funny guy. He tried to be, he just wasn't good at it. It's not that he didn't have a sense of humor. He did. It just wasn't that good. That makes sense.
Sure.
And if Mama Ferguson, if Vicky's listening right now, she's going to go, "Yep, that's exactly it." But as she was walking in, he had everybody ready to start playing the closing music and do the bow your head and altar call. And so she for a moment there.
Thought she got it wrong.
Thought that she had showed up an hour late to church.
Yep.
That was as funny as Roy got. Just saying.
That did actually happen to my sister one Easter. She forgot to spring forward. And, we were finishing up the service and she walked in and was like, hello.
Yeah, because there's that, one time a year, it feels like we get an extra, coming in here early in the morning. And then there's the other time where I got to go to bed at like 3 p.m. to, but that daylight savings time thing was essentially for a couple different reasons way back when. A lot of it has to do with agriculture, because, the farmers didn't have headlights on their tractors. They didn't have stuff where, and so that was one of the reasons. We just don't need it anymore.
Yeah. And I'm firmly in camp, ditch the switch.
I'm the same.
Okay, let's just pick one and go with it. Yep. Let's not do what Iran does and do the half-hour thing, which is really weird. I'm partial to sticking with daylight savings time, meaning that you're going to have darker mornings for longer, but then you get a little more light in the afternoon, particularly in winter time. So it's not getting dark at 4:15 or whatever. That's where I land, and I staked my claim on it yesterday in my morning minute. I was like, okay, I'm all in, ditch the switch, and I'm good with sticking with daylight savings time. And you would have thought that I was kicking puppies.
Really?
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, tell me what they were.
First of all, Mike, I don't know if you know this, but we tried this in 1974, and people hated it, and we had to go back, and it was a complete debacle.
Well, the 1970s, we were electing people like Jimmy Carter, so maybe our judgment wasn't the best.
I've tried to gently point out, valid. However, this is 50 plus years in the future. We live in a different world now. Maybe some of the things that were the issues then won't be quite the same now.
Right.
Okay. And then it was, there's just, there are studies out there, there are scientific studies that say that it's better with your circadian rhythm if you're doing this. People get really angry at you for suggesting this. And I'm like, okay, listen, here's the thing. I don't understand someone who doesn't want to ditch the switch. I don't understand someone who likes switching back and forth. I don't. I do understand someone who might prefer going with standard time permanent as opposed to daylight savings time.
Right.
So, okay, that's not my preference, but I understand that. But the anger and the ire and the vehemence, and it only comes from that direction.
Wow.
And I don't get it.
See, my take on it is I don't care which one, just stick with one.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put up with standard time if that's what you decide to stick with. I would prefer it be daylight savings time.
Sure, I'm good with that.
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Seriously, the level of hate I got yesterday for just picking
that's bizarre to me.
I don't get it.
That's really bizarre to me.
Again, even if you say no, I think that's a bad idea because of XYZ. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Again, whatever. This pisses people off. Like we were talking yesterday about me getting hangry. This is like that times 1,000. I was like,
because you're genetically disposed.
I am genetically predisposed to getting hangry. Ask David; he could tell you. No, I mean seriously, the level of like vitriol, and I was like,
that surprises me.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there are issues I think are worth getting worked up over. I don't. That one to me isn't one of them.
Right, and I don't understand why it's all that direction.
Yeah.
Like the people that I see, advocating for what we're doing, what theoretically we're doing, because the House passed a bill that said we're going to go with a permanent daylight savings time, are like, yeah, I want the extra hour in the afternoon. It's great. I really like it. I've not seen the level of like anger. Yeah, and I don't understand it.
Yeah, that's odd to me. I mean, what do you think, Jerome?
I think this is as good an excuse as any to have a civil war over. I mean, this is the dividing factor.
Apparently, it is.
Yeah.
This may be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
And the people who fight in the light have an advantage.
Yes.
Well, it's the people in the dark that aren't going to.
The people that are hour and ahead will have a head start. Because the others will be still sleeping in.
Look, I got to be honest. I don't relish the thought of like it being 8 o'clock in the morning and it's like still pretty dark. Like I understand that, and the whole like kids at the bus stop thing. Yeah, okay, I get that, but then they're coming home in the dark if they have like anything after school, and a lot of kids don't go to the bus stop anymore.
No,
like a lot of kids are either homeschooled or driven to school. I mean, not that no kids do, but like this isn't 1974.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, the bus stops are usually like 3 feet away from their house at this point instead of like a quarter mile down the road, and again, many people do not use that service anymore.
Yeah. And I also see a lot of like neighborhoods now, what they're doing, and I've seen this all over St. Louis, is they're building like these little mini like shelter type things. So, kind of like the places
like
where you
bus stop,
yeah,
like
shelter,
right.
like a bus stop or like at the airport, when you sit there and so the kids have a place to kind of hang out there, and it's like that seems like something we can overcome in 2026, given all the technological advances, and they look down and stare at their phone the whole time anyway.
Put a reflector vest on them. I don't know. I mean, I think there are valid concerns. I think there are even, you can maybe even point to studies that maybe support that argument. Fine. It's the anger I got in response to that. I don't understand.
That does surprise me.
It's weird. It's really weird. You know what else is weird?
What's weird?
If you do not get in your bump music request to Jerome, because tomorrow is Flashback Friday.
Yes.
Which means we want you to let us know. What do you want to hear? Send it into. What are you pointing at?
The audience.
He was doing the cool.
You know what? I can't see
cool,
your
tough
camera
guy.
from here, so I thought you were like pointing to like the imaginary person standing next to Mike.
There's a camera.
I know. I can't really see that from here.
I was doing the Uncle Sam, I want you for your bump
okay.
music,
Well,
but
regardless of the fact that Jerome is busting my chops, make sure you send in your bump music requests to him at Jerome@NewsTalkSTL.com.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
This must be Thursday. I never could get the hang of Thursdays.
On Newstalk STL.
1-2. And that's grounded up the middle. Diving play. Mason Wynn to his feet. He throws. He got him.
St. Louis. Summer baseball is on at Busch Stadium. The Cardinals host the Cincinnati Reds July 24th through the 26th for a weekend packed with Cardinals action and giveaways like the Victory Blue jersey and Kids Fredbear hat. Round up your crew and enjoy 3 days of summer baseball and family fun. Get your tickets today at cardinals.com/promotions.
Redbird fans, this one's for you. Sunday, July 26th, the Cards take on the Reds, and kids 12 and under can get a one-of-a-kind Redbird hat. It's colorful, fun, and perfect for cheering on the Redbirds. Plus, it's Kids Sunday with Team Redbird. Music, games, and lots of fun in Ford Plaza. Grab your family and come have some fun at the ballpark. Get your tickets now at cardinals.com/promotions.
This is JJ Weatherholt. See you at Busch Stadium.
Hey guys, don't miss Straight Lines with Elizabeth Kaiser every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. where we talk about so many areas, including AI, law, and health. We have some fantastic guests on my show. Don't forget, Sunday evenings at 8 p.m., Straight Lines with Elizabeth Kaiser.
Stand and Fight with Nick Schroer.
Hey, it's Nick Schroer. To preserve this nation, to preserve the experiment in liberty that our founders envisioned, we must take a stand and fight.
Stand and Fight with Nick Schroer.
Sunday nights at 6.
Only on NewsTalkSTL.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for my good friend Harry Parker and the ultimate seafood dining experience at Gulf Shores, GulfShoresRestaurantandGrill.com. Gulf Shores offering a unique dining experience with a vast, mouth-watering menu of all of your favorite delicious dishes, something for everyone's taste or palate. 3 convenient locations, Edwardville, Creve Coeur, and St. Peter's. Dine in, carry out. They've got a food truck, too. Friendly staff. Looking forward to seeing you, making your dining experience one you will remember. Gulf Shores RestaurantandGrill.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, this is Carl Higbee, host of Frontline on Newsmax TV, and you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Okay, so this is kind of a weird question, but kind of like a jump ball for everybody. We had some people answering this when I kind of teased it a little bit ago. Specifically, what are the qualities or the issues or the stances that would convince you to vote for or against a particular candidate? So 314-912-1019, or just sort of send in your thoughts on this, and I'll scroll through here a little bit. And so this could be different for everybody. Now, for some people, it can be as simple as, are they a Republican or are they a Democrat? That's enough for me. If they're a Republican, I will vote for them. If they're a Democrat, I will vote for them or against them, or whatever the case is. Other issues, it could be like, abortion or gun control, or on the left, it could be, are they for, I don't know, universal health care or whatever it is. But I'm just curious because we're going into, 3 weeks from now, we've got the primaries. Mm-hmm. And in the primaries, it can be a little different because in theory, like all of the Republicans in a primary or all the Democrats in a primary are going to be coming from kind of the same place. There's going to be differences here and there.
That might actually be the more telling thing about when you distinguish between people of the same party. What is it that draws the line for you?
What is it that, like I'm trying to think, what would be like the Republican race around? Well, let's say the 6th District in Missouri. By the way, Chris Stigall is going to be on the show in the 7 o'clock hour with us.
How about that?
Yeah, Chris is going to be with us. So there are 4 or 5 candidates who have filed in that race. A lot of people think it's really down to 2, Chris Stigall and then the city councilman from Kansas City. Mm-hmm. So what is it that's going to make you pick one or the other? But then again, you get to the general election or any of these. I mean, what is it that's going to be different? And, with Republicans, you've got different views on a lot of different stuff. Right now, you've got people who will, say, are they committed to doing what Donald Trump once done issue-wise or policy-wise or whatever? Or others, are you committed to opposing everything Donald Trump says? And
sure.
That's just part of the layout as well. Because when I'm growing up, I guess, politically, I kind of look back and I'm like, what are the things that were red lines for me? And I could like almost everything about them, but if they were on this thing, there was just no way. I had a line in the sand, and I've had lines in the sand over the years. You guys have any lines in the sand right now?
Go ahead, Jerome.
Well, we discussed this earlier, but during the break, it sounds like Susie is in agreement. No ugly politicians.
No ugly people.
I want somebody
inside or out.
Inside or out, yes. But I want somebody that when they go up to give a speech, they're making my district look good. They're making me as a voter look better or I make them look better by comparison, I guess. I would also say, and this is going to sound very superficial, but age is definitely a factor for me as well.
No, that's fair.
I don't think that's superficial.
Well, because I get a lot
As an old person, I agree.
Okay, because I was going to say I get a lot of backlash from some of the people that I talk to. It's like, well, the older people, they're wiser, they're more experienced, they've been around the block a few
There's
times.
a point of diminishing returns.
Yeah, no. There's a bell curve on that.
Yeah.
There it
It's like, well, they've been around the block a few times. I'm like, that's because they can't find their way back home because they're too old. So
Right.
Okay, let me hold your thought there. But also at the same time, would it be fair to say, okay, but you need to be at least this old to have, because
Right.
I mean, like right now, I mean, every year we've got like
Yeah, born
especially-
yesterday doesn't work for me
Born
either.
yesterday doesn't
Mm-mm.
work. There's always like a new 20-something with hot takes on the internet, or there's a candidate, they're really ambitious or whatever the case is. And I'm like, you don't know anything yet.
Gen X is your sweet spot.
Yeah, it does, which is weird because the Gen X is the one generation we've never had a Gen X
I know.
president, really.
We could.
Yeah.
We haven't.
Yeah, and so like, for instance, there's some like young people really ambitious, and I see a lot of them like, there's a lot of potential here. There's a lot of promise here. You need to get seasoned and marinate, and you need to learn from the people who have been there. Even if they're the establishment, you want to reject the establishment. You need to learn what's there instead of getting out ahead of yourself. So to me, I also have kind of a floor on that as well. I'm like, okay, you're not old enough to know anything yet. Not that you're not smart, but you don't have the experience to apply anything yet. For the same reason, at some point you're like, okay, are you physically able to do this job? And there are people, it's different for every person. I get it. But at some point, I'm with you. I think you can be too old to do any job. Someday I'll be too old to do this job.
Yeah.
Someday.
Yeah, no, the youth, I agree entirely with the age. There's a certain point where you were born at a time and the world has changed to the point where you probably are if you're still holding on to some beliefs that you grew up with, it's just not your time anymore. There's also you're too fresh into the world to really truly understand what we have to deal with and what it's like out there in the real world. So there is that sweet spot. And then I would say for me, constitutionality, if that's a word.
Mm-hmm.
But even that's up for interpretation. I mean, is there anything specific that you would say, okay, this is how I look at this
moment
issue?
anybody starts talking about gun control, the moment anybody starts talking about censorship for the good of the people or anything like that, and the moment that anybody starts talking about, well, we would be safer if we had more of these AI surveillance protocols. You've lost my vote. Doesn't matter with the party.
Okay, so Josh Hawley's got an uphill climb for you to vote for him.
I'm about 50-50 on him.
Okay.
I'll still pick him every day over Claire McCaskill. But anyway, yeah, I think for me, there is one bright line that it has developed over time, but that is the life issue.
Sure. Yep.
If someone is pro-choice, not pro-life, that's going to be a deal breaker.
Even
for
if they've
me.
got an R in front of their name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if the choice is between that and like virulently pro-abortion far left, and those are my only two choices, I guess I would.
Yeah, but does that mean it's not that red of a line then?
That's a fair question, and I'm just saying I don't anticipate I don't foresee that really being a choice anymore. The way that lines up, just generally speaking, people that are on the right tend to be pro-life, but in other words, so remember we were talking about the difference between primaries in general.
Yes.
For a primary, that's completely a red line. Like, that's easy. But if the choice, again, is this or, Cory Bush.
Right.
Oh, well, okay, but I'm not happy about it.
Yeah.
I will not vote on somebody if that's the choice I'm given. If that makes sense.
Okay, so Allison says, with the Democrat Party supporting socialism and communism, I can never support that. So if it's a Democrat, absolutely not. With her, she says, I've never voted for a Democrat. Too many of them were racist when I started voting, and the party just doesn't align with my values. Okay, yeah, I get it, yeah. And she goes, 101 Straight Up said, 101 Straight Up said that. And then he said, that said, Republicans aren't exactly off my crap list.
I knew where that was going.
Either, yeah. So, but yeah, so I totally get that, yeah.
Now, and this is something that I've been just mulling over as a thought experiment, but is there any merit to, because right now where I'm at least politically, I can't imagine voting for any Democrat in the foreseeable future, but I'm also getting very frustrated with some of these Republicans that we have.
100%. Yeah.
Does it not then make sense to maybe try to see if there are more rational Democrats and then try to not do like a party flood per se, but just try to get better Democrats that are less crazy radical leftists into positions? Is that a good strategy, or am I just wasting my vote?
I mean, those people I don't think would make it through the primaries in the Democrat right now. Would
I
it
mean,
would
that
it be-
could change.
Would it be better for the country if we've got conservatives versus center-left Democrats? Yeah. I just don't know if the Democrats are ready to do that
I don't
until
know.
they get their teeth really kicked in, which they may or may not happen in this next election.
One of my other lines ties into what Jerome was saying, and that has to do with their reverence for the Constitution and their adherence to the Bill of Rights. I mean, the Constitution is a living, breathing document, and we should stack the court. We should do this. We should do that. We should do away with the Senate. That's one of the big things. Yeah, anything
or the filibuster.
No.
Or the Senate?
No. The filibuster isn't constitutional.
Yeah.
No, there's a DSA candidate saying we should do away with the Senate. Again. I will give you the article.
I believe you. I'm trying to get into that person's head. What?
Again, so that person is not adhering to the Constitution, does not revere the Constitution. Absolutely. People that like their viewpoint is that all needs to change. No.
Yeah. We need to honestly go back to a lot. I think one of the biggest mistakes we made is direct election of U.S. senators.
Agreed.
I think that was
repeal the 17th. Is it the 17th?
I think 17th. The people look at me like I've got three eyeballs when I say that. It's like, you don't want to elect our senators. I'm like, okay, do you know why we didn't elect our U.S. senators at the beginning? When we decided to directly elect the U.S. senators, the power of the states almost completely diminished overnight. That was part of the checks and balances. It wasn't just executive, legislative, judicial. It was also national and state.
Yes.
It was also, I mean, that was actually one of the more
threw the balance out of whack.
That was one of the more brilliant aspects of the checks and balances that the founding fathers put into place. Now you're never going back from that. But like right now in Missouri, if the state governments were responsible for appointing the U.S. senators, and these U.S. senators knew they could be recalled, can you imagine? We would have Eric Schmidt. We may or may not have Josh Hawley. We would have somebody more conservative than Josh Hawley.
Probably. I mean, you have to remember that, when he came in 2018, it was him versus Claire McCaskill.
Right.
And so there was like a no-brainer choice whatsoever. I think during his time in office, he has kind of been a mixed bag on that.
Very much so.
On that front.
Yeah.
No, there would definitely be a different it would be a different dynamic in the Senate.
Yeah. So I asked you both. So with me, I'm Jerome with you. I mean, if I see, I don't know that I could vote for any Democrat right now, but Republicans still have to earn my vote.
Oh yeah.
And if there's a life issue is a red line in the sand to me, even if there is a mushy Republican or a quote unquote pro-choice, pro-abortion Republican, I don't think I could vote for him even in a general. I may sit that one out. I'm not going to vote for the Democrat.
Right.
But that's one. Second Amendment issues or another. If they say, well, we just need common sense gun control, but trust us on that. I don't want those people elevated into office at all.
Nope.
So I've even got one where Republicans still have to earn my vote. And I have sat out of a number. Now I'll go in and I'm like, okay, that race, there's nobody worth voting for. I'm voting on everybody else. I'm always going to show up to vote, or I've written in people that I know the candidates won't, that kind of thing. But I think it's even more important that we hold our own side to the fire.
I agree.
Yeah.
I still subscribe to some defensive voting at times.
Sure,
too.
I get that. Practical, strategic.
Yeah.
To everyone who serves and sacrifices, this one's for you. There's going to be a 1,000 suit giveaway with Heroes Care on July 18th. Heroes Care is giving away 1,000 suits to our heroes. That includes active duty, retired guard, or reserve, military, police, fire, and EMS. Just show up with your ID and a suit is yours. That is Saturday, July 18th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Heroes Care store in Gravois Village Center in High Ridge. For those who sacrifice every day, we simply want to say thank you.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Seen those movies where they say, make my day, or I'm your worst nightmare? Well, listen to this one. Rubber baby buggy bumpers. Ha! You didn't know I'm gonna say that, did you?
On NewsTalk STL. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch with your first alert forecast. Temperature is going to climb towards that 90-degree mark. It feels like temperature close to about 98 degrees this afternoon. Some scattered showers and storms after the noon hour. That'll continue to follow towards the first half of the overnight hours. Some moderate downpours going to be expected. Friday, very similar conditions. Coverage decreased just a tad bit and will continue to rise as we head towards the upcoming weekend with the feels like temperature close to 101 into Saturday, 97 degrees into Sunday. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Scott.
When Donald Trump needs conservative votes to help pass his agenda for Missouri, Representative Trisha Burns never answers the call. Trisha Burns has missed 370 votes. Burns is bucking President Trump's priorities. Burns did not vote to stop DEI initiatives, prevent China from owning Missouri land, defund Planned Parenthood, and Burns did not vote to ban boys from girls' sports. Trisha Burns not showing up for Missouri and President Trump. Instead, Trisha Burns spends her time pulling pranks on the suicide prevention hotline. Yes, you heard that right. Trisha Burns lied to the police and staged a fake suicide emergency. She sent a series of messages to the hotline and said she, quote, had a gun to her head, end quote. When she got caught, she said there'd be no consequences because she's a politician. By August 4th, vote to show Trisha Burns that there are consequences to being bad at your job. Cut the Bullpack paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising, not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
If you love your pet, which I know you do, then they deserve the excellent treatment and care they'll receive at Pacific Animal Hospital in Pacific, Missouri, a full-service veterinarian facility. Originally built and grown by my dad, Dr. Bill Jones, a new generation of wonderful veterinarians and staff at Pacific continue to provide outstanding medical, surgical, dental, boarding, and grooming services for your favorite furry friends. Our family entrusts the care of our pets only to the experienced docs and staff at Pacific Animal Hospital. You should too. Call them today, 636-257-2100, 24/7 at PacificVets.com, PacificVets.com.
We talk about race relations.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
And I'm sick and tired of it.
101.9 and 94.1.
I find it to be a conversation starter.
News Talk STL.
Hey, this is Vince Colonnese. I'll talk to you tonight at 8, but now back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show on News Talk STL.
Okay, but both of us, Susie and I, mentioned the life issue, being a red line. And you know what's interesting on that, how that question, how the life issue has changed and evolved over the years, how we talk about it. Because you look back in like the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, there were the establishment types who are like, well, these are the real issues, the fiscal issues. And then you got your social issues. And you know what? We can get to those. And it was things like life and things like, there's like, well, those are just the social issues. Yeah, it'd be nice if they agree, but they're just not that big of a deal. They're a big deal because they speak to who and what we absolutely are. But you remember the day when they're like, well, those are just the social issues. And they tried to make those second-tier issues. They're not second-tier issues. And then you look at how low can we go as a society and a culture. And Jerome, you spotted the story. I spotted it too, but you sent it over to me yesterday. It's out of Canada, but it's Western Civ here, and there's a lot of moving parts to this. Did you see this, Susie? This is crazy.
I saw what Jerome sent over.
Yeah.
I didn't have a chance to read it.
And so here are the basic details on it. I've got the tab up right here. So there's a gay couple in Canada, wherever they are in Canada. And in Canada, apparently, the legality and the process of surrogate is pretty straightforward. You can hire a woman to carry your child, and I guess this is something a lot of both gay couples and other couples, more traditional couples are going to do. And so they've hired this woman, and there are a couple things that confused me about just biologically. And like, for instance, she did the in vitro with, I guess, a donor egg from somewhere. And
wasn't one of her eggs?
I don't think it was. The way that I was reading the story, and I'll double check, but they also used contributions from both of the men, which I don't biologically.
So they wouldn't know necessarily which one of them was the actual biological father.
Right. And so, which to me is weird and kind of gross, but
don't cross the streams. Sorry,
right? Yeah, You're not sorry. You just, and so, and I got to find this. Jeez, it's here somewhere. Okay, but because I was reading the article earlier, and then at some point in the pregnancy, they realized that the baby had a cleft lip.
Yeah.
Not a big one, but they had a cleft lip and a very minor heart defect. And
okay,
so
both of which are addressable. I mean,
very addressable, nothing life-threatening, nothing. The couple, the two men, then told her, per our contract, we've decided to terminate the pregnancy. We're going to try again. So we need you to go get an abortion. And she said, no.
Good.
So she has the child. There is, I guess, a very minor, as they predicted, cleft lip. And there was a difficult birth. And but they addressed it. And the child's going to live a happy, healthy life. And so the men have this baby that they told her to.
So they ended up
they
taking
took
the baby that they didn't want, that they wanted aborted.
Right.
Okay,
And-
that right there is a problem.
Well, it gets worse. They're now suing her for $600,000 for wrongful birth because they told her that they wanted this child killed. And so they're now suing her because she delivered the child that contractually
They could
was
relinquish
theirs.
rights to the child. They don't have to keep that child.
Well, yeah, but they're suing her for this, saying
Yeah,
like,
I'm calling
distress.
big old BS on that.
Yeah, and I don't know what the Canadian system is on
I don't
that,
know either, but I'm hoping if it goes before a jury, I'm hoping that jury does the right thing.
It's Canada.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
They got a history
I'm
of not
hoping,
doing the right thing.
I'm
yeah.
hoping the jury does the right thing.
Well, and the thing that really, I guess, many things about this get under my skin very deeply, but they live in Canada where the whole thing is universal basic health care. It's all free. A cleft palated lip can be successfully
Surgically fixed.
Oh, that's normal.
Yeah, like it's really not that crazy of a procedure, and you still wanted to terminate somebody for a cosmetic defect.
Yeah.
Well, and so that just, I mean, the idea that these people are now raising a child when they're so, basically human life is disposable.
Right.
To them.
See, that's the point, is that that's how far we've devalued life. That is, if I don't get my designer baby as a gay couple, then just kill it and we'll try again.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter whether the couple's gay, single, whatever, or straight. It doesn't that if you're basically taking the approach that yes, you get to design your babies. No, that's
Right.
No.
And so this the story here, and it's the New York Post is where Jerome saw the story, and they quoted a bioethics professor at the University of Calgary named Juliette Guichon, said the parents appeared to be punishing the woman by suing, and that because they demanded the abortion, and she didn't give it to them. So this looks like a punitive lawsuit because she followed through on the contract, but they say we had a contract that says you kill it if we say kill it. She's like, no, I'm not doing that.
Did the contract say that? I'd be interested
Yeah,
to know.
because let me scroll up in the story here a little bit, because there's a quote on here, and then I know somebody's got some thoughts on this here. Okay. She received a response from the couple asking that she terminate the pregnancy while she happened to be in the Dominican Republic, leaving her devastated. And I'm quoting from the article. Considering that medical tests indicate that the fetus has or is likely to have a genetic, chromosomal, or other abnormality or defect, and in accordance with Article 8.5A of our surrogacy agreement, we want to inform you of our wish that the pregnancy be terminated, their letter to her said. So, yeah.
Our good friend Dave's got some thoughts on this.
Ooh, this will be spicy.
This will be
Dave,
good.
all right, what do you think?
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, those two men, they should have been aborted. There's a good start. Abort them. This is the second story you guys have done similar to where, there were precursors, according to the medical experts, of markers that the kid was going to do this or going to have a third hand or whatever. Well, I have a daughter, okay? And they told us the same thing, that she was going to be born with Down syndrome. She just graduated college in May.
Yep.
So my point being is while medical experts do the best they can, only God knows. So, it's self-determination. You do what you feel is best, but that baby was sent to you by the good Lord above. So instead of taking, quote, the easy way out, why don't you take a long look in the mirror, because they might be wrong.
Mm-hmm. And
Might be wrong.
Even if they're right, that value has that life has intrinsic value, that we don't get to just say yes, no, thumbs up, thumbs down like some perverse gladiator.
No, exactly. Hey, I spent $4,000 saving my dog's life. Okay, now I'm not patting myself on the back, and I'm not comparing my dog to a child. Please don't think that for the liberals. But it was a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm.
So if I would do that for my dog, what would I do for a child?
Right. Yeah, Dave, I very much can relate to that, because I had a very similar experience when I was carrying my daughter. I was told that she may have chromosomal abnormalities and given the opportunity to terminate the pregnancy. And turns out, of course, that didn't happen. But that in and of itself is why I am pro-life. That's the moment that my view on the subject changed. And I get very emotional about it, too, because the fact that there was a test that said that she might have this, and the first thing that they did was to offer terminating the pregnancy. Well, I mean, that will always haunt me.
Well, they didn't say that to us, but what they did say is there's no guarantee. You guys have to do what you feel is best. My wife and I looked at each other and we said, there's no choice. The only choice is we'll have this baby, and if she has whatever they say, then we'll deal with it when it comes. Like I said, she just graduated, 4 years. She got her accounting degree.
Congratulations, Papa.
And I couldn't be prouder of her.
Absolutely.
Dave, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Dave.
Same thing. I will start mowing right now.
Well, and that's the thing with people like Dave, is that, there are people in this world that only view children as what it makes them look like. And that's clearly what's going on with this Canadian same-sex couple that should not be allowed to buy children.
Yeah.
Right. It's human trafficking. I don't care what that does people. They took that as it's not the right kind of kid. Well, people like Dave out there say, you know what, this is my kid. I'm going to love them. When you give your kid a chance and you love them despite themselves, as I was told growing up, you love yourself, you love your kids despite themselves, then you can give them opportunities to grow and be an adult and to function in life. And this is why I wanted to be able to have this conversation on air, is because this is something so disgustingly stupid from these people that you would deny somebody the ability to experience life, to come into the world and have their life because of something as stupid as a cosmetic defect like a cleft lip. So thank you, Dave, for sharing with us, because we need more people like you out in the world.
And the other part of, like, for instance, with Down syndrome a few years ago, there was a young man with Down syndrome who was testifying for Congress saying, my life is as valuable as your life. I don't know how many people who have Down syndrome that you've been around. They are like the happiest people you are ever going to see, and they are so much fun to be around.
They're so nice.
I mean, it's like some people look at that and they're like, look at this, this disability, and I'm like, they've got the happiness gene, is what I mean. It's like they are like the most joyful people I've ever been around.
There are all kinds of issues that people will come into this world with that may mean they need extra care. That may mean they need extra love. Getting choked up talking about it. You don't, when you sign on to be a parent, you don't get to make those conditions. You don't get to put those preconditions on it.
No.
That's not the way it works.
No. And that's what you have in this case, this story here, is that these two dudes that are like, it's just not the designer.
You're not
product.
buying a puppy.
I'm returning her to the store. We're going to try again.
No, that's just disgusting.
But that shows you Westerns of how we have devalued life, and how it directly relates to, yes, we have to value life, or this is what we deteriorate into.
All right. On a different note, that jailbird sheriff has another legal problem. We're going to tell you about that in the news dump at 6:50. You guys have heard me talk about Window World. That's because they're one of only 2 replacement windows with the Good Housekeeping seal of approval, and they rank #1 in the country for number of windows sold by Qualified Remodeler magazine. They've been doing this for over 20 years, helping to improve the look and energy efficiency of more than 80,000 homes right here in St. Louis. And the St. Louis location's been owned, operated, and managed by born and raised St. Louisans for more than 23 years. So if you've been thinking about new windows, you can call today for a free home estimate at 1-800-GET-WINDOWS. What I like about Window World is the product itself. Their windows are durable, they're secure, they're energy efficient, and they're built with double strength glass that you don't typically see in replacement windows. Plus, you're covered with a lifetime warranty that includes parts, glass, breakage, and labor. That's a big deal. And they don't just do windows either. Window World can also help with siding, doors, basically everything on your exterior except a roof or garage door. And here's something a lot of companies don't offer. Their customer service team is available 7 days a week. Their commitment to customer service shows. Over half of their appointments come from repeat customers or referrals. Plus, they're big in the community. They've raised over $4 million over the years for charities like Action for Autism and St. Jude, and they're the preferred window of your St. Louis Blues. Right now, they're offering 36 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. So if you've been putting it off, now is the perfect time to act. Call Window World at 1-800-GET-WINDOWS.
News, analysis.
I'm glad you're talking about this.
Opinion.
I'm glad you're fired up about it, too, because I know I am.
News Talk STL.
The radical left let crime and drugs pour into our nation, and they let biological men into girls' sports. But here in Missouri, if there's a problem, we fix it. That's why Ann Wagner's fixing the mess the radical left made and delivering for us. Wagner voted to ban biological men from competing in girls' sports, and she voted to fund the police and provide more resources for Border Patrol agents, keeping our families, communities, and children safe. And Ann Wagner didn't stop there. In Congress, Wagner passed the largest working-class tax cut in American history, kept big government out of our business, protected our way of life, and ensured our communities remain safe. That's why Ann Wagner's endorsed by the Missouri Farm Bureau and Missouri Fraternal Order of Police. Vote Ann Wagner for Congress on August 4th.
I'm Ann Wagner, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Ann Wagner for Congress.
Summer is here at Daniel's Farm and Greenhouses on Juggerman in St. Peters. Discover our breathtaking 55,000 square feet of greenhouses featuring 8,000 hanging baskets, hundreds of perennials, and 100,000 pots of colorful annuals. From vegetable plants to premium grass seed, mulch to herbs, our knowledgeable staff is ready to answer all your questions. Start spring off right with pansies, potted tulips, and everything your garden craves. Daniel's Farm and Greenhouses. Visit us today on Juggerman or online at danielsfarmandgreenhouses.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey guys, Billy Crow here from Jeffco Patriot Radio. Hope you had enough time to freshen up your coffee, because now we're back with Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, the feds say they're cracking down on strawman gun purchases. We'll get into that here in just a minute. Local activists want St. Louisans to use gun locks. A lot of gun stuff coming up here in discussions in a few minutes here. And despite the Supreme Court's ruling, is a change to birthright citizenship still possible? All right, 6:50. Let's do a news dump and get going here.
The Morning News Dump, brought to you by The Nutrition Stop.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out. They got all the news.
The Morning News Dump.
All right, that didn't take long. ICE reverses its pause on traffic stops after less than a day. I guess I should say they unpaused the use of traffic stops in less than 24 hours.
Pause the pause.
Pause the pause. This comes despite the recent shootings in Texas, another one in Maine. So Border Czar Tom Homan was on Fox's The Ingram Angle, and he says Secretary Markwayne Mullin did not intend for that ban to ever be indefinite.
He wanted to do a short-term pause to make sure that the agents out there on these operations have the vehicle stop training, and do they have the tools necessary to keep safe.
And President Trump's made it very clear that he supports the use of traffic stops as well. That pause was supposed to remain in effect until Secretary Mullin approved new training, reviewed it, and it looks like they took a gander and said, nah, we're good. Maybe you shouldn't try to run over federal law enforcement with your car.
Well, that's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah. Just saying, there's some things there. All right, this is something you're going to start seeing more of in the area. A new campaign from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms is coming to St. Louis. KMOV's Corey Stark has the details with comments from U.S. Attorney for Eastern Missouri. His name is Tom Albus.
They are starting a campaign in the metro warning about the consequences if you help a loved one get a weapon they shouldn't have.
People are criminally responsible for lying on ATF forms in order to get weapons in the hands of people that couldn't fill out the forms themselves. And that's a felony criminal offense. The penalties for those offenses have been enhanced by Congress in recent years.
And you can get up to 10 years in prison for lying on a firearms form and 15 years for buying a gun for someone who can't legally have one. Over the next few weeks, you're going to start seeing this campaign hoping to keep guns out of the hands of criminals.
Okay, we're going to dig into this just a little bit more later on here. All right, former St. Louis City Sheriff Alfred Loaded Dice Montgomery has another legal headache.
What?
Yeah, a former director in his office is now suing him and suing the city. Tashana Sias says that she was fired in retaliation for cooperating with state and federal investigators while they were looking into Alfred Montgomery while he was still in office. Sias was the director of personnel and fiscal operations for the sheriff's office. She's asking to get her job back along with back pay and damages. And retaliation has been one of the reasons he was removed from office. So if she can show that, that was retaliation because she actually cooperated with the people who were investigating him, I would think, Susie, she's got a really freaking strong case.
Seems like it.
Yep. All right. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, otherwise known as, Sam the Eagle from the Muppets. Does he not look like Sam the Eagle from the Muppets? Yeah.
Kind of.
Just saying. Okay. He was on Capitol Hill for a Senate confirmation hearing. He is obviously President Trump's nominee to succeed Pam Bondi as head of the Justice Department. But, a lot of Democrats want to derail this nomination, and they might be able to do it. They're arguing he's not qualified, but not because of anything illegal, I guess, education or experience. It's just because of who his client has been in the past. One of the Democrats opposing this, you'll be shocked to know, is Chuck Schumer.
You can't have integrity if you represent Donald Trump because he is such an inveterate liar. And that person, of course, should never, never, never be Attorney General.
Okay, so Senator Mike Lee was on the Ingram Angle on Fox News responding.
He once represented President Trump, but that doesn't mean that he can't serve as Attorney General of the United States. The fact is, they don't like President Trump. They want to smear anyone associated with him.
I mean, it's
ridiculous.
That's the argument. The question is he qualified? Is he not qualified?
He's more than qualified for it.
By
By the way, he handled himself very well, I thought, in this question. That was some pretty intense questioning yesterday.
So here's the thing is, like, I understand that, there are situations where lawyers take on unsympathetic clients, defense lawyers in particular, in civil cases as well. But you do draw distinctions between, well, there's a job to do and we don't have a system unless people have aggressive representation.
Right.
And in this case, they don't like who his client was, I guess.
It's the guy appointing him.
Right.
They're not going to like anybody he appoints. They're not going to vote for anybody he appoints. They're going to do everything they can. Blanche is as qualified as anybody. He will do a fine job at that, and he will do a better job than Bondi.
I did not. Yeah, Bondi was. I'm going to raise my hand and go, told you so on Bondi. When she was nominated, I was like, this is a problem. This is a bad pick.
Chance. I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, she met my expectations. Let's put it that way. All right. Some lawmakers unhappy and still wanting more answers involving the Epstein files and the documents that still should be released. Justice Department, as you know, released some documents, including photos and call logs and interview transcripts, but there's a lot more out there. On Joe Rogan's podcast, the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance discusses how the office handled the Epstein files.
We absolutely screwed up the comms of the Epstein files, like we just did. But do I think the reason we screwed up the comms is because we were trying to hide something? No.
I think they're involved. I think they're as much involved in the cover-up as the Biden administration was. I don't agree. I don't think for a minute they're like, yeah, we just didn't get the messaging right on that. That's my personal opinion on this. Vance also largely pointing to former Attorney General Pam Bondi, who infamously said that the alleged client list of Epstein was, quoting, sitting on my desk right now. And so with those comments, Justice Department under Bondi also offered conservative influencers, social media, TikTok types, binders that were called the Epstein Files Phase 1 and declassified that were basically what you could find in a Google search.
Ridiculous.
It was so stupid.
Good news, though.
Yes.
Massey and Ro Khanna are going to be introducing Part 2 to the Transparency Act, so we'll see where that goes.
Well, those two are so popular in Congress right now. I'm sure that's going to sail right through. Yeah.
Ro Khanna.
Yeah.
What a winner.
Okay. The Urban League and some churches here in the region are asking people to use gun locks. That's campaign was announced yesterday. Groups are giving away the locks this weekend, pointing to recent shootings of children around the state, including the toddler as well. Giveaway is going to happen this Saturday morning. Let's get some thoughts on that as well, because gun locks tends to be a lightning rod discussion for a lot of people as well. Let's see here. Sports-wise, Cardinals are off tonight as they wrap up the All-Star break. They do start a series with the Diamondbacks in Arizona tomorrow night. And then next news dump, I want to get into this birthright citizenship thing here too.
Okay.
Hey there, Chris Cooper here, your financial friend with Serenity Wealth Management. Tune into the Serenity Wealth Now show this Sunday right here on News Talk STL, 9 a.m. This week's special guest, Rob Haig of Fortis Capital Advisors, a financial advisor, an advisor for other advisors, and a son to parents who've had an interesting conversation about long-term care recently. He's going to share his story with us right here on the Serenity Wealth Now show, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Tune in right here on News Talk STL.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Tony Colombo here for All Solutions Pest Control, the team Christine and I trust to protect our home. We've used multiple services at multiple homes over the years, and I can tell you from all that experience, All Solutions is second to none. If you have a pest problem of any kind, or more importantly, just want to prevent a problem, All Solutions is the team to call. Learn more and take advantage of their incredible $67 introductory offer right now at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
And the match is about to begin.
Most of the team is out with COVID-19, so there'll be some substitutes tonight.
What's this? We have an unexpected guest on the field.
It's a dog. Well, they could do with extra players.
She's going for the ball.
Are front paws hands or feet?
Soccer season is full of surprises, and COVID-19 could be one of them. If you test positive, prescription medications may help. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Learn more at PfizerForAll.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
One of life's greatest mysteries has finally been solved.
Who let the dogs out? Spruce, spruce, spruce.
It's Spruce, the weed and grass killer that's safe for use around people, pets, and bees. When used as directed, spray the leaves for visible results in just 1 hour, and dead weeds in just 1 day. You spray, they play. Spruce, pet friendly, weed deadly. Find wherever weed killers are sold.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at
NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. President Trump is promising really, really big news when he delivers a primetime speech this evening from the White House. A key part of the address to focus on election integrity, with the president saying our country has to shape up. Without free and fair elections, you don't have a country. And when it comes to military spending, the commander-in-chief is pouring it on.
President Trump announced a major investment in the nation's defense industrial base at a Defense and Innovation Summit in Pennsylvania.
This afternoon, we're announcing nearly $10 billion of new investments in our defense industrial base right here in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And these investments will create more than 4,000 jobs. Pennsylvania workers will build the ships, submarines, trucks, weapons, and industries.
The announcement comes as the administration continues pushing to expand U.S. defense manufacturing. Willie Nelson, the White House.
Expanding its airstrikes, the U.S. military has hit targets farther north in Iran.
American forces have also fired into a ship accused of trying to break the U.S. naval blockade on the Islamic Republic. Tehran retaliated early Thursday with missile and drone fire targeting Bahrain, Jordan, and Kuwait before dawn. Back and forth strikes by the U.S. and Iran across the Middle East and renewed Threats to the Strait of Hormuz have shredded the interim deal to end the Iran war.
Correspondent Andrew Stewart. Parts of the Texas Hill Country are getting hit again by flooding rains. Some of the very same areas hard hit last year being slammed again. There have been dozens of high water rescues as a result of days of torrential rains, and it's not over yet. Canadian wildfires, close to 200 of them, sending massive amounts of smoke into the northern U.S. Wildfires also burning in Minnesota. On Wall Street, Dow futures up 35 points, and NASDAQ futures down 272 points. More on these stories, townhall.com.
You've probably heard all those ads for life insurance. Just a few dollars a day, apply online in minutes, no medical exam. Simple, easy, and cheap, right? Now you're thinking, maybe I should get a quote. Well, smart thinking. Everyone should have life insurance. But here's what they don't tell you. Those few dollars a day rates, they're for young people in perfect health. That's why everyone calls Big Lou the 50 to 60-year-old not-so-perfect candidate. Like you. You take prescription meds and you're overweight. Winner, winner, fried chicken dinner. Well, Big Lou works with life insurance companies that want people like you with no surprises after you apply. In fact, if you're a 50-year-old guy with a few health glitches, Lou could probably find you $1 million of term life coverage for about $200 a month. So, yeah, you need life insurance. But unless you're young and healthy, you gotta call Big Lou, because he's like you, older, heavier, and on meds, too. Get a quote right now at 800-555-2085, 800-555-2085, or biglou.com.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Scott with your first alert forecast. Temperatures going to climb towards that 90-degree mark. It feels like temperature close to about 98 degrees this afternoon. Some scattered showers and storms after the noon hour. That'll continue to follow towards the first half of the overnight hours. Some moderate downpours going to be expected. Friday, very similar conditions. Coverage decreased just a tad bit and will continue to rise as we head towards the upcoming weekend with the feels like temperature close to 101 into Saturday, 97 degrees into Sunday. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shane Scotch.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Window World of St. Louis. For replacement windows, doors, and siding, call 800-GET-WINDOWS. That's 800-GET-WINDOWS.
Hey, it's Columbo reminding you that when the fish are biting, gear up with the best at Bluff City Outdoors. They have a huge selection of all the gear you need for your next trip on the water, including great products from all the top brands in the industry like Mega Bass, Mad Cats, Penn, and more. Plus, join us every Saturday at 11 a.m. on the Bluff City Outdoors show for great conversation and the local fishing report. Open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at BluffCityOutdoors.com.
When decisions matter most, experience isn't optional. As a former SWAT commander, Tim Whitney has led Under Pressure. Today, as Undersheriff and Chief Financial Officer, he helps lead hundreds of employees, manages one of the county's largest budgets, and protects taxpayers with conservative accountability.
I'm Tim Whitney, and I'd be honored to earn your vote. Together, we can support responsible growth, strengthen public safety, protect taxpayers, and preserve the character that makes Jefferson County home.
Paid for by friends of Tim Whitney. Heather Missy, Treasurer.
Mike Ferguson.
I'm a stud. I'm ballsy. I don't take no from anyone.
Susie Moore.
I disagree on his assessment of the situation.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice. Drain the swamp and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
What kind of trouble are you stirring up on Rumble, Jerome? You jabberwocky?
I must confess, I am a total carpetbagger.
Oh, I don't know what you did. I just looked down. I'm like, what the heck is going on?
From time to time, we get, because you can join us on Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, and X and leave your comments, but from time to time, we get crazy people that like to spam links talking about random people being the savior of the universe. And so when I bonk the links from the chat, they get mad sometimes, and then they start calling me names.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, if you want to check that out, it's at the Rumble there. Okay. All right. 7:06 right now. Now, listen, we know that the left looks at abortion as some kind of like sacrament as far as an issue goes. And I'm not even, they would probably not like the word sacrament, but.
That sounds religious.
Yes, it does. That's why I picked it. But it's one of their like key values. It's gone from it's not good, but we want to protect the choice to this is a good thing. Yeah, safe, rare, and legal from the Clinton years to this is a good thing. Shout your abortion.
Celebrate,
be proud of
yeah.
it. Celebrate. So that's why I say it's become some kind of sacrament for so many on the left here. But some politicians say women who have aborted their children should be a protected class, like under anti-discrimination laws. Yeah.
Oh.
Wait.
I have questions.
Oh, yeah.
So birthing persons who have abortions should be protected because we all know they're not going to define what a woman is. So.
Correct.
What discrimination are they facing that we're trying to supposedly address?
Okay, so I found this on the Heartlander News, which was what used to be Reed Lyon, and they combined with Heartland. So the story is out of Michigan, and there is a lawsuit, and there's a preliminary ruling that says that pro-life groups can, in fact, have a qualification that says you got to be pro-life. And that you cannot, for instance, if they said, no, we're not going to hire you or let you volunteer if you've had an abortion or if you support abortion, or because under Michigan's anti-discrimination laws, apparently recently, according to this article, and they link right to the law, this says that they have added women who've had abortions as a protected class from discrimination, along with religion, race, gender, age, all these other things. It's an actual defined protected class, and so the pro-life
chosen behavior versus immutable characteristics being the defining characteristic of a protected class. Right. BS. Right. I am so ready to start cursing today.
Yes. But for instance, if you go to, and I'll put the article, and you've got the link there, right, Jerome? Yeah. Let's throw this up everywhere. A federal judge temporarily stopped Michigan officials from forcing two pro-life organizations to hire workers who support abortion. And then it goes on there. Okay.
So the federal judge actually did the right thing here.
Correct.
Let's just note
now,
that.
This is preliminary. This isn't the whole thing. But yeah. And then the order allows the groups to hire workers who share their pro-life beliefs and allows the Pregnancy Resource Center involved to accept only volunteers who follow their teachings and their platform. But here's the thing. The ruling is not the final decision in the case. Michigan lawmakers amended what they call the Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act in 2023. The law now includes the, quote, termination of a pregnancy in its prohibition against sex discrimination in employment.
Okay, so I want to make sure that I am absolutely understanding this properly. So they will not declare a fetus as a protected person, but they are going to declare the people that exterminate the fetus as a protected person. And this is all in the context of pro-life groups not wanting people that are not pro-life and exterminate fetuses from being able to volunteer and work for them.
Correct. It's as simple as that. Yes.
That is the most, I don't know a non-cuss word to use.
Right.
Convoluted nonsense, crazy. That is literally insane.
Yeah. So, and here's the thing is that I know people at pregnancy resource centers and pro-life groups who bring in those who have had abortions because they are some of the most effective spokespeople for why you shouldn't, but that's not what they're talking about.
Yeah, because there's two different things here. Right. There's your philosophy, and obviously, if you're going to be working for a pro-life group, you shouldn't be pro-abortion. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's like de facto. I mean, I don't understand. Not de facto isn't the right word, but I mean, I don't understand how that's elemental,
right?
Fundamental. And that's not going to fly legally. Whether or not someone has previously had an abortion, first of all, sometimes those are the strongest pro-life advocates because they've been through it and they understand the errors of their ways. But be that as it may, you're not going to get protected class status based on someone's chosen behavior, even if they regret it now, versus, I mean, first of all, they shouldn't have to disclose that. That is a privacy issue. But so I don't know how someone would know unless they,
unless that's part of, hey, this is a pro-life organization. Do you have any experience with abortion?
Well, right. But what I'm saying is, whether or not somebody actually did is up to them to tell or not. That's not something that's going to be readily discoverable unless you've just been sharing that with the world anyway. Right. But be that as it may, you're talking about conflating the concept of race, gender, those sorts of things with a chosen behavior or chosen action even.
Right.
Not even like, how you live your life, but an act that you took. That's not gonna hold up to constitutional scrutiny.
No,
so this
not
may
even close.
make its way through the courts, but ultimately, I think that's not going to fly.
Yeah, the Supreme Court, if it ever gets there, they're not going to put up with this. But it shows you how aggressive some of those on the fringe left want to promote and normalize abortion.
Well, they can kiss my grits.
Okay, easy. Okay, no, yeah, okay, Alice.
I know. That was Flo, but yeah.
Oh, that's right, it was Flo. The show was Alice.
I kept that PG because
Yes.
I really want to say a few other things.
Right. And this shows you, again, the devaluing of life to the point, and also I think the attack, because most of these organizations are faith-based organizations, not all of them, but most of them are. And this is one of those where I think it's not just a way to circumvent the pro-life cause, but attack faith-based organizations. Now, the lawmakers may have thought, okay, we're just doing this in the general workplace because we don't want some stodgy old guy not hiring a young woman because she's had an abortion.
Which, again, he wouldn't know.
Right. Or because she promotes it or whatever. I mean, in the workplace, you want to work in a call center, it doesn't matter. But the idea that this is a protected class now by at least one state law in this country is bizarre to me. And it also shows you kind of where some of the fringe left values are on this. But to argue that historically there's been discrimination here, here, and here. Oh, and by the way, those who've chose to kill their children, they're just as protected of a class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. Grumpy cat face, no. I'm really not liking a lot of these stories today. I'm ready to punch somebody.
Okay, that's why we put her down at the end of the table down there. That's like way down there. I am way out of
I'm getting stabby.
Arms.
Feel a little Jabberwocky over there.
Maybe. I'm not even hangry.
Yeah, no, not in the least bit. Yeah. So Camellia, our friend Camellia, she just put on Rumble. Imagine that an abolitionist in Missouri teaming up with people like this trying to defeat Amendment 3 in Missouri.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
That's what we're going to be facing.
Yeah, it really is, because there's at some point, I think the left was like, we're just drawing a common sense middle ground here on this. And then you've got the folks who are saying, well, I don't personally like it, but, I don't want it to be, in the law. And then you take that inch versus mile thing. And then you get at some point, it's like, we're going to celebrate and put you in a protected class. And then the pro-life groups aren't allowed to say, these are our limits. You have to be on board with being pro-life.
I'd like to put them in a protected class.
Yeah.
You're going to need protection
Exactly.
after Susie gets to you. No, and I don't want to make light of the situation, because I do know people that have made that choice and that they regretted it afterwards. I also know people that make the choice that don't regret it. And it is a difficult situation to find yourself in.
Absolutely.
But am I a bad person because I want to see what kind of PSAs are going to run for these? So I whenever I get like YouTube ads, it'll be people that have some sort of disability saying, "Hey, we're just like you. Hey, we might be different color, different sexuality, but we're just like you." What are you going to do to get sympathy for? We've had abortions, but we're just like you. Like, what? How does that make any sense?
And then in kind of a similar vein, and I know we're up against the information segment here, but there were cases, I don't remember if it may have been Michigan as well, a couple years ago, where there was a Catholic school, and then I think another case around the country, there was a Christian school, evangelical school, that got sued because they fired teachers who, one, like, came out as gay.
Mm-hmm.
And then the another one, what was the other one? It was, gosh dang it, what was it?
Was maybe living with a partner.
They were. She was living with somebody and pregnant. Yeah,
right.
And valued their statement of faith, which they agreed to, and they sued, saying that was discrimination and they couldn't be fired. And the courts, I think, originally had mixed results, but I think the right thing ended up happening in those.
So just going back to the Canada incident earlier, which you can hear on the podcast later.
Mm-hmm.
So if two gay guys hire somebody to be a surrogate, the person refuses to get the abortion at the request of the gay guys. Is the person refusing to get the abortion now discriminating against abortion givers? I don't know. What do you even call these people? It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, the logic kind of eats itself.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. You ever been trying to have a serious conversation, concentrate on something, and a bug flies into your face or like up your nose. Has that ever happened to you?
Yes.
Okay, well, I have a story that's kind of like that coming up in the Red State Rundown right after this.
Don't try to make me stop, no inspiration. You have a soul so dark, it is no more. And all at once depart, no destination.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I like it, but they're going a little overboard with the dancing.
On News Talk STL.
I can't think of a better time to just get away from it all. Maybe do that float trip. I mean, maybe not float trips right now with all the flooding, but a good camping trip, getaway. Or, of course, hunters, listen, this is your time. You know what's coming up here. That's why you got to talk to my friends, Whistle Pig Outdoors in Troy, whistlepigoutdoors.com. Listen, this is run by a father and a son team, and I'm telling you, Jason and Cole, these guys are the real deal. They are outdoorsmen, and they work with high-quality everything. There's nothing at Whistle Pig Outdoors in Troy that is not top quality. If you want to go get the cheap stuff and you want to go at Walmart and Amazon, you can do that, and it might last you a season, probably not. Or you can go to Whistle Pig Outdoors and get the good stuff. And by the way, they've got a bow archery tech on site. Yes, they can sell you the new bows, whether it's crossbow or traditional, but you bring in yours and they will customize it to your needs so you can have the best harvest possible, regardless of what you're hunting, especially if you're hunting waterfowl, deer, you name it. They've got you set up. WhistlePigOutdoors.com. Check out the website, but I'm telling you, check out the store in Troy, right there on Main Street. Such a cool store. It is a lot of fun, and tell them that Mike was bragging about him on the radio.
Columbo and Company.
Join us every day for conversations with a wide variety of guests as we keep you informed and up to speed on all the important news and headlines you need to know.
Live and local, weekdays at 2
on News Talk STL.
Are you tired of hard chlorinated water drying your skin out, tasting bad, and ruining your fixtures? Jones Air and Water Treatment has a solution to this pollution. Our Hydratech H2O leaves you with great tasting, soft water at all fixtures in your home with one unit. Call Jones Air and Water at 636-899-1040 or visit us on the web at joneswater.com. You can be a filter or buy a filter. Jones Air and Water, 636-899-1040 or joneswater.com on the web. Call us now.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Hi, I'm Jen Wallner.
And I'm Rodney Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Rodney, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission rate?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
When's the best time to sell your home?
Right now. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk. Live and local.
I need to know what's going on in my city.
News Talk STL.
I'm Congressman Bob Onder, and you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
Guns and gun violence back in the news here in St. Louis again. And you notice that I don't do, we used to call it spot news in the business about 20, 25 years ago. Spot news, Jerome, you probably haven't heard that term, I don't think.
No.
Spot news was basically the crime, the violence, that type of news. And when I was in the business in the 90s, and I was still a journalist, I was working at an NBC affiliate back then, you rushed to be the first station to cover all the blood and guts.
If it bleeds, it leads.
That was exactly
that was
exactly how it was when I was in the business then. We don't do that a lot here. You know, the reality is that people are getting shot almost every day in St. Louis. You know, that's we talk about the bigger pictures and the bigger issues, and we got a couple of gun things here to talk about. But can free gun locks, because there's a big campaign to give out gun locks in the urban core. and they had the mother of the toddler who was unfortunately, tragically, just horrifically shot to death by her 11-year-old uncle.
Mm-hmm.
And so she came out and they're trying to get ready to use the gun locks in there. So let's talk about that. And then the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms is now launching a campaign in the St. Louis area regarding what they call straw man purchases as well. So I want to dig into that here in just a couple of minutes here. 7:21 right now. Obviously, what's happening nationwide is being covered by redstate.com along with all the other outlets as well. So Susie, being one of the top people at redstate.com, what should we check out today?
This is the Red State Rundown.
First up from Ben Smith, this one's titled, Jim Jordan Drops the Hammer on Larry Krasner's Sanctuary City Stonewalling. Larry Krasner is the DA in Philadelphia, and we're having a little federalism fight here because he seems to think that he can, defy federal immigration law and not have to answer to, Congress that has oversight over those sorts of things. So there's a little back and forth going on. They've subpoenaed him now for the records that he's refused to give over, so we're going to have a little tussle between Jim Jordan and Larry Krasner, and I'm here for it. Ben Smith has that right up. You should check it out. Also from Sister Toldja, the leftist commentariat comes unglued over Darlene Graham, and the facts just make them look worse. So, of course, Darlene Graham was sworn in as the newest senator now from South Carolina on Tuesday. And, of course, the left is losing their minds over it. The people with the what are they called? The Galaxy Brains over at The View have figured out that this means it's DEI in South Carolina, because South Carolina would never statewide elect a woman except for Nikki Haley.
Right, except
or a minority, except for Tim Scott. But whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, there's Sis kind of tears that apart in her article. You should check that out. And then, as promised, from Bob Hogue, what would you do? Giant roach lands on reporter during live shot, and her reaction is incredible.
Not
Did you
a
see
roach.
that?
No, I didn't see it.
A flying roach, a brown thing about an inch. And David sent me this clip yesterday, and I was like, wow. And then Bob wrote it up. This woman is on camera doing a live shot. It's like evening. She's, and you see this bug. First, it like lands kind of on her. She's got like a vest on. It lands on the vest, and you can't quite see what it is. And then it crawls up her neck into her hair while she is live on camera. And you see she continues talking the whole time. You see at one point her eyes kind of get wide, like she knows something is crawling on her, but she's not going to lose the shot. And then it flies off, and then she's done with the shot, and then she's like throwing her mic down after the shot. But she kept her cool, man. I think if she had seen it and knew what it was, she might not have kept her cool, because this thing was, I'm telling you, it was like an inch plus big.
It was like those things. Remember the movie, the
flying roach,
the Mummy. Remember the movie, the original with Dwayne Johnson.
Yes,
like those things that ate
the
people.
scarab beetle looking things.
Yes, because they had their wings. That's what you're describing.
Correct. You have to see the video to believe it. Well, don't do it while you're eating or if you're easily skeeved out. But I have to give credit to this reporter. She kept her cool. And again, I think if she had actually seen what it was, she might not have kept her cool. But she did until the shot was over. And then she was like, "Bah." On
a much lower scale, I was playing one of my baseball games last night, and we were at the old Sauget ballpark. And I'm catching, and one of the players on the other team, such a cool guy. The last second a pitcher was pitching. He's like, time out. And it was too late. The pitch came. Some bug was flying like all over his face.
Oh, that's the worst.
And so the umpire's like, he was pitching. He's like, no, it's all good. It's all good.
Ugh.
And the thing is like in Sauget, you're in the east side there. You don't know where those bugs have been. I'm just saying.
It's true.
They could have been over at the clubs.
True.
And so you don't necessarily worry about West Nile. You worry more like hepatitis if you get bit by. I mean, just saying, if the bugs fly on you and they've got this faint smell of
Jerome. I think Mike is engaging in value judgment.
I am a little bit, but I'm just saying. That's why I tell
bugs from the east side.
The new guys, it's like, man, these mosquitoes are bad. I'm like, yeah, and you're over here in the east side. I'm like, listen, you don't know where that mosquito's been. I'm just saying is that if that mosquito flies around you and it's got glitter on it, you
promiscuous.
I'm just saying, if the mosquito's like, my name's Cinnamon with an S, I'm like, it's a little different over here in Sauget. I'm just saying. Okay. All right. Let's talk about a couple of these things that were in the news. They're in the news dump here. We covered this horrific situation where this 19-year-old, here's what the police are saying happened. Investigators saying happened. that the father of this toddler, 11-month-old little baby girl who was shot to death, he was, what was he, 20? I think he was 20 or 21. He's very, very young, and he had his loaded firearm just stuffed underneath a mattress. Well, his 11-year-old, I don't know if it was his son or his baby mama's son.
I thought it was his little brother.
Maybe it was, brother. I'm sorry, brother. Yeah.
Yeah.
So his brother or the mother's brother,
Mhm.
but the 11-year-old was the uncle to the 11-month-old.
Correct.
And he got the gun, and he is now charged with murder because police say he intentionally shot this baby to death.
Which, and
And
what's going on there?
The police have said that the child said, "Yep, I knew where the gun was. I played with it before. I pointed it at people before, and that's why this 11-year-old or 10-year-old, I guess, now 11, is charged with murder." And so there's a campaign that's on this coming Saturday. Urban League and some of the churches in the urban core, they're doing a big gun lock campaign. Safe storage. If you're going to have guns, and you need the gun locks, and they want everybody to use the gun locks. Now, this causes a lot of controversy when there are these type of gun lock and gun safe things are put out. Now, first of all, in your home, you store your guns. You have an ethical responsibility to be safe with them when children are around. That's
absolutely.
And I think I think that the father should face criminal charges on this. Absolutely. Then a lot of folks point out, they're like, well, wait a minute, if you've got a gun lock or it's locked away in a gun safe, if the point is to have it for home defense, it's not going to be useful for home defense.
Right. That certainly slows down the ability to defend yourself
Right.
if you're having to undo a lock and or a
Right.
safe. That sort
But
of thing,
I'm never going to go tell somebody, don't store your guns in something. I mean, you do what's right for you.
Right.
What this guy did was reckless and irresponsible. There are ways to keep your firearms handy, available, while still keeping them out of reach of children.
Yes. Definitely not what this guy did.
No.
We can all agree that was a poor choice.
Yeah. And the mother is like saying, not my baby daddy. Don't go easy on him. He feels no. I think he should go to jail. I think his irresponsibility. I absolutely think he should be prosecuted.
Oh yeah,
without a doubt. And so these campaigns bring mixed emotions out of people. But the reality is that if they want to hand out a gun lock and they're giving them away for free and they're showing people how to use it. Okay, I mean, I don't have any small children in my house. I'm not going to do mine that way.
Right.
But it shouldn't be something that's mandatory, because in Illinois, they've actually, I think, got a law now that says you have to have them locked up and all this kind of stuff. But I've got mixed feelings on it. But if you're that reckless and irresponsible, are you going to use the gun locks right anyway? But I'm not trying to criticize them. I mean, they're trying to do something. I get it. As long as it's voluntary,
right.
Then I got no beef with it.
That's the thing. It's like if you're talking about offering that as an option to people and even encouraging them, I don't see how you can really argue with
I'm not arguing with that,
Yeah.
But the bottom line is recklessness is recklessness, and handing out a gun lock isn't suddenly going to take somebody who's irresponsible and make them responsible.
Right. Oh, you mean I should secure my firearm and make
Right.
sure that young people can't get to it and
Right.
fire it indiscriminately? Oh,
Right.
wow, what a concept.
Yeah, precisely. So that's happening. And then the ATF, and we'll have this in the news dump, where they've got a campaign cracking down basically on if you lie on the gun forms, the purchase forms, the background check forms, and you get a firearm and get it to somebody else who would have been prohibited, then they're cracking down on you, and you could get 10 or 15 years for that. Now, keep in mind, I'm pretty much an absolutist. I think all of those forms in that process is unconstitutional. But there are people who are legitimately and rightfully barred from having guns because they have given up their right, because they've committed violent crimes and have hurt other people. So, I get what they're saying on that, and you shouldn't go lie and find a way to get a violent criminal a gun. But it reminds me at the same time, I'm like, can we not celebrate that we've got this process that you're asking the government permission to exercise your Second Amendment? It's none of the government's business if I own a gun, and if so, which one I have. It's none of their business, because that's my right as recognized by the Constitution.
Yeah, if you're such a violent person that you can't be trusted to have your firearm rights restored, you should just not be let out to begin with. But on a brighter note, I have a special request I'm making for everybody, and that is for 80s bump music for Flashback Friday, which is tomorrow. So I'm pointing at you, my lovely stream audience, and not a random ghost in the corner.
Thank you for clarifying.
That confused Susie earlier.
I want you to submit your favorite 80s bump music request to me, Jerome at NewsTalkSTL.com. This week's theme is a free-for-all for all the new audience members that are joining us now, so they can get initiated with the proper way, which is the best or worst, your choice, of 80s bump music request.
They're actually enjoying it.
Of course they're enjoying it.
It's Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch with your first alert forecast. Temperatures going to climb towards that 90-degree mark. It feels like temperature close to about 98 degrees this afternoon. Some scattered showers and storms after the noon hour. That'll continue to follow towards the first half of the overnight hours. Some moderate downpours going to be expected. Friday, very similar conditions. Coverage decreased just a tad bit and will continue to rise as we head towards the upcoming weekend with it feels like temperature close to 101 into Saturday, 97 degrees into Sunday. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Scott.
John Beal Roofing reminds you we are in the stormy season, and that means if you have even the smallest leak in your roof, you could soon have a much bigger issue. Call the John Beal to make sure that your biggest investment is protected. That call can save you major dollars. If you do get hit during a storm, John Beal has a rapid response team. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF, John Beal.
Larry Connor's commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers, offering a wide selection of jewelry, including lab-grown diamonds, affordable earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and rings, up to 75% off their natural counterparts. Visit VincentsJewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
Question, do you remember what happened in your life March 19, 1918? If so, you were 108 and sharp as a tack. For us young'uns, that was when Congress passed the Standard Times Act, officially establishing daylight saving time. And yes, the word is saving, not savings. It was deeply unpopular with farmers, and after World War I, it was repealed, only to go back in place for a period of time during World War II. In the 70s, Congress instituted daylight saving time during the oil crisis on a temporary basis. Today, 2 states, Hawaii and most of Arizona, do not observe daylight saving time. The House just passed an act keeping us on our current time, but 22 Republicans joining 95 Democrats vote to keep changing it. Now it goes to the Senate. Many health and safety experts don't think it's wise to change the clock twice a year. They cite a 17% increase in traffic fatalities and an increase in strokes. I admit I don't bother changing my watch nor clocks. I just live in that limbo until daylight saving time comes back each year. Stupid? Yeah, but that's me.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Your trees do a lot for you. Shade, beauty, curb appeal, but are they safe? Clever Tree Service has been protecting St. Louis homes and landscapes for over 20 years. Pruning, trimming, removal, stump grinding, even 24/7 emergency storm service. Fully insured, eco-friendly, and always focused on you. From Kirkwood to Chesterfield, Webster Groves to Wildwood, your neighbors trust Clever Tree Service. Visit clevertreeservice.com for your free quote today.
Chris Arps here, and after Becky and I leave church on Sunday, we head down the street to Capriotti's to grab a classic meatball sub. I love Capriotti's, and you will too. Visit Capriotti's now at 2 locations on Manchester, McKnight, and Rock Hill, and now in Creve Coeur on Olive, just 1 mile west of 270.
It's a brand new show on News Talk STL. JC's Sunday Showgram.
Next Monday is the anniversary of the moon landing in 1969. I have some great stories. Plus, one of the strangest and most devastating weather events took place this week in 06. How many days was your power out? Plus, Roger Daltrey of The Who talks about his St. Louis area connection. All brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group.
Sunday morning, 7 to 9. Then podcast each Monday on NewsTalkSTL.com.
At Body of Health, we're a small but mighty family operation with big ambitions for your health.
I'm Helene Tobler, and I'm jazzed about how our MRI-grade body composition analyzer is putting personalized health and wellness on steroids. It helps me and Dr. Tobler, that's my husband, refine the advice we give to help you feel better and live longer. Body of Health, trusted, discerning, affordable health care the way it ought to be. Learn more at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Number one for live and local conservative talk.
I just would like to get your comments on that. I'm so glad that you're on the radio, and I want to thank you for that.
I'll tell you why.
101.9 and 94.1.
I love these people.
St. Louis is number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Let's get back to all this madcap mayhem with Mike Ferguson in the morning. But don't forget, stick around for Jones and Arps every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m.
All right, the next Congress is going to deal with the issues that are just as contentious as the ones that are currently being dealt with in Congress. That ain't going away. And we don't know what the makeup's going to look like, who's going to have the majority, who's not going to have the majority. It's going to be pretty close. We know that. Chris Stigall wants to be a member of that next Congress. I don't know, Chris, because you're glutton for punishment or something, but you want to represent the 6th District to replace Sam Graves now that he is retiring. He's not running for re-election. So, Chris, I appreciate you being back on the show here. Let me start with, I think, some of, obviously, the biggest issues out there. We don't know what President Trump's going to talk about tonight as he's going to deliver his national address. We've got some ideas. I'm sure the economy is going to be there, but I suspect that the war in Iran is going to be a big topic as well. I've asked Congressman Bob Onder about this a number of times. I've asked a couple of others, Eric Burleson and some others. At what point, is there a point, I should say, where Congress needs to reassert its constitutional role in oversight of the warfare? You know, because I understand he's starting and then saying, okay, before the deadline, we're calling it a ceasefire, that we're starting over. But the reality is we've had a war against Iran for several months now. At what point does Congress need to step in and say, okay, we're going to do the oversight. We have a say in this, not just cutting the checks. And where should we go regarding the conflict with Iran?
Iran has to be defeated. And good morning, Mike, by the way. Good morning, guys. I'm glad to be with you again today. Iran, in my view, has to be completely annihilated, at least in terms of their weapons-grade uranium, their nukes, and they're committed to total destruction of not just the United States, but the region. They always have been. The president, though, has always been very, very consistent, too. And he said it's not about regime change. And this is the difference. You know, look, I'm a guy who, frankly, would love to see the mullahs in Iran terminated. I don't think they mean any good for the region, for the world. But having said all that, that's not the president's objective. It was never about regime change. Now, there are many people, perhaps conservatives, who would say until you just completely annihilate leadership in Iran, the mission is not complete. But that was never President Trump's mission. It was to secure the region. And Marco Rubio said very plainly, and, if it's not President Trump you want to listen to Marco Rubio, who said they were in a position with nuclear capabilities to defend themselves from ever allowing anyone to stop them again, which would have meant permanent control of the strait. They saw an urgency to act at the time they did. I trust the judgment of this president and the Secretary of State to act when they did. I think they're doing it very surgically, intentionally, specifically. It's not some broad-based war, ongoing war that'll be a meat grinder like previous operations. They know what they want to achieve, and it's just about breaking Iran's will to bring them to the table.
Should Congress have a more of an oversight or active role in it, or are the way things going now the way you'd be comfortable with it?
Based on the open testimony that I've heard, now, of course, I'm not privy to, skiffs and private details. I'd love to learn more, and I'm eager to do so when I get there in January. But based on the details that I have readily available to me right now, their objectives are very clear, and they seem to be meeting them. So Iran is not coming to the table with their part of the deal, but it's very, very clear every time President Trump strikes what it is he's doing and why he's trying to do it. If I thought this was Ukraine of a couple of years ago where Joe Biden said as much as it takes, as long as it takes, we'd have a big problem and a big discussion, and Congress should have asserted itself. But President Trump has never said as much as it takes, as long as it takes. He's very specifically told us what he intends to do and what the objective is. So I'm comfortable with the president's mission. I don't think it's mission creep. I don't think it's endless. He has a target in mind. He knows where he wants to get them, and if they're not willing to go there, then perhaps we're going to have to talk about an expanded role there. I don't know what that means, and certainly if we're talking about months beyond now, sure, that's a different story.
Okay.
Good morning, Chris. This is Susie Moore.
Hi, Susie.
Hi. As you've been campaigning now across the state and talking to voters and listening to what their concerns are, what is the number one, top of their list concern that they're bringing to you?
It kind of depends on where you go. The 6th District is so diverse.
Yeah.
It's 33 counties up here in North Missouri. So if you're in Hannibal, for instance, they'd like 36 designated as an interstate all the way to the river. If you're in a place like Parkville, Missouri, on the western side of the district, they're concerned about a railroad track that runs through their town. And could you possibly reroute rail track? Of course, everyone's thinking about the economy. You talk to farmers, the number one economic driver in the 6th Congressional District. You talk to farmers, they just want economic certainty. They'd love control of input costs. There's real concern amongst farmers about potential collusion in things like fertilizer, in equipment manufacturing. Those are things that I know the Trump administration is investigating currently. I'm eager to get on the Ag Committee. That's my first goal and objective, because I would be the only member in Congress, if I'm elected, to sit on that committee right now, which sort of blew my mind. But Missouri does not have a representative on the Agriculture Committee in the House. So we need to get back there, and I'd like to be a voice for the farmers, certainly, in Congress. So there are many very diverse issues. There's law enforcement. Rosecrans, the air base in St. Joseph, they'd like the new J model C-130, for instance. That's a huge economic driver and also a matter of national security to the country. So it's a big and diverse district with a lot of different needs. Agriculture probably has to top the list. Rural hospitals close behind that. Mostly rural communities. Not as populated, but mostly rural communities in the 6th District. And those communities right now are kind of wondering about their future. They need some economic certainty.
All right, we're visiting Chris Stigall, running for Congress in Missouri's 6th District, which, by the way, is a big part of the 94.1 listing area here as well. So, Chris, let me follow up on the economy. Inflation cooled a little bit. There's some good news as far as inflation still there. I noticed driving in, gas prices creeping up a little more. I'm obviously connected to what's happening in Iran. What can the federal government do to help, curtail those rising costs and just that cost of living? And maybe what should the federal government stop doing in order to help in that realm as well? Because you know me, I'm a free market guy. So what role can the government play? But I think most importantly, what should government just knock it off?
Yeah, amen. If ever there's a chance that I could take the vote to knock it off government, yeah, you betcha. That's my vote every time. I agree with you, Mike. Government has done entirely too much, and I would point to the EPA as Exhibit A in what has hampered so many, particularly farmers, and their ability to grow and expand and control costs. Environmental rules and regs, and again, that's different than pollution. Mm-hmm. It's always this rope-a-dope canard that, if you want to cut back on a bunch of onerous EPA rules and regs, that you're somehow pro-pollution. That's nonsense. But we all understand that the EPA now has a vast reach into so many facets of our economy. The equipment that we use, the cost of the equipment that we use, the fuel it burns, developing fuel, developing fertilizer. So, yes, the government encroachment in the lives of everyday folks like our farmers is costing us a fortune. That's for sure. Now, to fuel specifically, here's what I really believe about Iran, and I don't think it gets nearly the conversation that it deserves. I think the president sees more than just this discussion of the Strait of Hormuz and Iran. He took out Maduro in Venezuela. He's talking about the shipping lanes around Greenland. We're talking about OPEC nations now starting to splinter. UAE, chief among them, saying we're done doing business with OPEC. We're talking about Saudi Arabia and others now creating new pipelines to get oil to market that don't involve the Strait. You're not going to be able to turn this around on a dime. We haven't built a new refinery in the United States in 50 years. So, yes, while we're pumping record energy out of the ground, you can't refine it here. It's bananas. You've got to send it overseas to be refined while we import refined oil. So it's it's upside down, as you understand, Mike. We've not been a country that's been, yes, we're producing our own energy, but we're not refining it. And so we've got to get back to a place where we're not just net exporters of energy, but we're also refining it and manufacturing and producing it here so that we can control those costs. We are sitting on, as you know, between natural gas and petroleum and coal, we're sitting on enough fuel to power ourselves well beyond your kids and grandkids' needs. But we're not exploiting it right now, and it's all because government has stepped in and told those industries to stop.
Chris, I know we don't want to put the cart ahead of the horse, but you got to get through the primary and the general. But assuming that you do win election, I know you indicated you'd be interested in sitting on the Ag Committee. Are there other areas or committees that you would see as a good fit for you that you'd be trying to aim for? And as a follow-up to that question, because it kind of involves ag, what's your stance on permanent daylight saving time?
Oh man, yeah, the hot button issue.
I know. Who knew?
People get worked up over this.
Oh my goodness.
You know, and here's what I'll say. I think if we're all really to be honest about daylight savings time, I think this really comes down to what's your personal preference. Do you like a little more light in the morning, or do you like a little more light in the evening? I mean, I think people would like to make very dramatic cases in 2026 for why one is better than the other, but I think technologically, you talk to farmers. I mean, they're working in the fields day and night anyway. Yeah. It's not like there aren't lights on combines anymore. There are. So farmers don't care. I mean, broadly, they don't. I've not talked to a farmer that says they're not going to be able to do their work if it gets darker earlier or darker later. So, I guess I could hear the school bus issue. I'm not even sure that's necessarily the primary issue anymore. So on the daylight savings thing, I personally, as a guy who probably battles with a little seasonal affect disorder, I don't like that dark at night. I get a little, little blue when it gets dark early in the winter. I like a little more sunlight myself, guys. So I'd be inclined, if I got to vote for it, to support getting rid of it. But in terms of committees, when I get to the House, after Ag, I'll tell you one of the things that I am eager to be a part of is the investigation into the fraud that J.D. Vance is leading from the White House's perspective. I want to dig deep into why our tax dollars, Dr. Oz over at CMS is doing tremendous stuff too. Why are our Medicaid and Medicare dollars being blown by the billions, stolen and or blown by the billions, while our rural hospitals are withering, I should say, on the vine, not frittering, but withering on the vine. We have more than enough money in the system to help keep our existing medical needs propped up if it's not being stolen blindly right out from under our eyes. And so I think these task forces on fraud, and by the way, accountability, there has to be accountability. I'm tired of the show hearings. I don't want to talk just for the sake of talking. I'm excited about Todd Blanche as the new Attorney General because I think this guy is very, very serious about actually holding people accountable and prosecuting. I think we've already seen it with him. I think we're going to see more of it. So if I had to point to one thing besides ag that excites me, it's to hold people accountable for all the taxpayer theft we've been watching.
All right, Chris, the website, social media, I think we've already tagged you on our social media, but people want to get in touch or learn more about the campaign. They do it how and where?
Yeah, I'm excited about a couple things. Number one, I will tell you, for those that are in your area listening, I'll be in Palmyra Sunday afternoon, and we're doing a 4-county candidate forum in Lewis, Marion, Shelby, and Knox counties up north here soon. And we're going to be hanging around in Hannibal on Monday as well. So I'm going out east, and I'm camping for the next few days out east, and I hope people come out and say hello. But you can go to StigallForCongress.com and learn more. Congressman Jim Jordan, chairman of the House Judiciary, is coming in to close out the campaign. He just endorsed us. We were thrilled to have that endorsement, as well as the CPAC endorsement, Senator Eric Schmidt. So we're finishing strong, guys. 18, 19 days to go, something like that. Polls look good. We had record funds raised in the quarter, so we're rolling, but we're going to run through the tape.
All right, we'll talk to you again soon, Chris. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Chris. Well, he just mentioned Todd Blanche, who is the current acting AG. I don't know if this comes as a surprise, but Democrats don't like him as President Trump's pick for Attorney General. Do they have a point, or is it more TDS? Hear from both sides in the news dump at 7:50.
Just hold on loosely, but News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 2 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
News Talk STL is celebrating our 5th birthday. And we're giving away a limited edition News Talk STL America 250 t-shirts. It's exclusive, it's collectible, and it could be yours. Just head to NewsTalkSTL.com to register.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, News Talk.
Been listening since day one. Happy birthday to my talk station.
5 years, happy birthday.
News Talk STL.
News Talk STL. Happy birthday to us, and good luck to you.
Tired of settling for generic fishing gear? Say hello to Bullseye Bait and Tackle, O'Fallon's one-stop shop for serious anglers. Live bait, premium tackle, rods, reels, and an unbeatable selection of lures from top brands like Megabass, Zoom, and Berkley. Whether you're after bass, catfish, crappie, or bluegill, they've got the gear to help you land the big one. Plus, their expert team, led by Mark and Liz, provides rod and reel repair services. Bullseye Bait and Tackle, 266 Fort Zumwalt Square, or at bullseyebaitandtackle.net.
The Mike Ferguson Show is one of my favorite programs. In addition to Larry Connors USA, catch my program at 6. Now, back to Mike.
All right, some local activists want St. Louisans to use gun locks.
Okay.
See what's going on with that. And despite the Supreme Court's ruling, is a change to birthright citizenship still possible? 7:53. We don't have a lot of time for a news dump, but let's get one in here.
The Morning News Dump, brought to you by STL Fenceworks.
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks, the Morning News Dump.
All right, there's a new campaign from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, and it's coming to St. Louis. KMOV's Corey Stark has the details with comments from U.S. Attorney for Eastern Missouri, Tom Albus.
They are starting a campaign in the metro warning about the consequences if you help a loved one get a weapon they shouldn't have.
People are criminally responsible for lying on ATF forms in order to get weapons in the hands of people that couldn't fill out the forms themselves. And that's a felony criminal offense. The penalties for those offenses have been enhanced by Congress in recent years.
And you can get up to 10 years in prison for lying on a firearms form, and 15 years for buying a gun for someone who can't legally have one. Over the next few weeks, you're going to start seeing this campaign, hoping to keep guns out of the hands of criminals.
All right, Todd Blanche has confirmation hearings got underway yesterday. You'll be shocked to know that Democrats are opposing him to become the permanent Attorney General. Well, he's represented President Trump in the past. Here's Chuck Schumer.
You can't have integrity if you represent Donald Trump because he is such an inveterate liar. And that person, of course, should never, never, never be Attorney General.
All right. Senator Mike Lee was on the Ingram Angle on Fox responding.
He once represented President Trump, but that doesn't mean that he can't serve as Attorney General of the United States. The fact is, they don't like President Trump. They want to smear anyone associated with him.
Okay, so, Susie, give me the 30-second answer. You represented this person, therefore you have no integrity.
Baloney.
You had 29 more seconds. That's all
I'm,
you needed.
I'm efficient.
There you go.
At least I didn't swear.
Yep. All right. The Urban League and some churches in the region are asking people to use gun locks. That campaign was announced yesterday. The groups are giving away the locks, pointing to the recent shootings of children around the area, particularly the tragedy of the 11-month-old girl who was shot and killed, police say, by her 11-year-old or 10-year-old uncle. The giveaway is going to happen this Saturday morning. If you want to learn more about that, then you can go to the Urban League's website. And if you got any thoughts or questions about that. All right, 7:55 right now. What about this whole thing with birthright citizenship? The Supreme Court ruled on it, but is the debate actually over? Indiana Republican Senator Jim Banks introducing a bill that would change who qualifies for birthright citizenship. He was on Fox Business's The Evening Edit.
There is a moral duty that members of Congress like myself have to pass a bill to clarify that the children of illegals do not or should not be granted birthright citizenship. Is common sense. Okay, so Susie, the Supreme Court obviously ruled on this, and they ruled on the constitutionality of it. So is it possible for there still to be a change legislatively if they ruled the 14th Amendment says this?
It's going to have to be very carefully drafted, very narrowly tailored, and it's still going to be an up in the air question. So yeah. I think this is a campaign issue.
I'm guessing the same thing on that as well. Okay, there is a bizarre and just a troubling legal case coming out of Canada. Michael Harrington has this story.
Some might call it a sign of the times. A homosexual couple is suing the surrogate mother they employed for refusing to abort their baby because tests indicated the child might have a cleft lip and other birth defects. The two men have filed suit against the woman in what amounts to a wrongful birth case. In fact, the child was born healthy with only one minor birth defect and is expected to live a healthy life. The two men are seeking $600,000 in damages. Michael Harrington reporting.
Boy, we mentioned this a little bit earlier, and the just visceral reaction for good reason on this. This is where we are with so many people in Western civilization right now when we devalue life like this.
I want to cleft their lip.
There you go. All right, the Cardinals are off tonight as they wrap up their All-Star break. They start a series with the Diamondbacks. That's going to be in Arizona, and that series starts tomorrow night. Cardinals needed the breather. They have been kind of sliding down in the National League Central, so they really need a pretty good run because the post-All-Star break part of the season, not as long as the pre-All-Star break. Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stigall is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9, right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
You work hard, follow the rules, and get absolutely slammed by taxes. Your paycheck taxed, your property taxed, everything you buy taxed. Missouri's tax system isn't broken, it's rigged against you. The lawyers and lobbyists working for big corporations and the super rich buried over 200 loopholes for themselves in our tax code. While they pay nothing on the services they use, working families are taxed over and over. It's no wonder they're lying about Amendment 5. Our corrupt tax system is rigged in their favor. They're getting a free ride on your back. Don't believe their lies. The truth is, Amendment 5 closes loopholes exploited by the super rich and slashes taxes paid by Missouri's working families, phasing out income taxes and cutting property taxes. They finally pay what they owe while you keep what you earn. Vote yes on Amendment 5. Paid for by Missouri Promise PAC.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Accelerating U.S. airstrikes on Iran are bringing retaliation as the Islamic Republic lashes out at its neighbors. Kuwait's military says it faces a fresh round of incoming fire from Iran.
Iran's top negotiator issued a lengthy statement as the U.S. stepped up its airstrikes. Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf called the conflict an existential war, emphasizing the importance of maintaining Iran's claim to the Strait of Hormuz by force, if necessary. But he also left the door open to negotiations. The U.S. says it's targeting Iran's ability to threaten shipping in the waterway. But in this latest round of strikes, Iranian media reported that a children's cancer hospital was evacuated after several missiles landed nearby.
The BBC's Barbara Plett-Usher. President Trump isn't offering much in the way of a preview of this evening's address to the nation, except to say that
it's really big news. It's really, really big news.
The White House speech will focus at least partially on election integrity, which polls show is a big issue with Americans of all political stripes. What was once primarily a childhood illness is making a comeback.
Measles cases on the rise here in the U.S. Johns Hopkins School of Medicine says we are about to break a 35-year record. The CDC says there were close to 2,300 measles cases last year in 2025. But as of this July, we've already hit that number and are expected to surpass it. The last time measles was an issue was back in the early 1990s.
Correspondent Laura Winters. Some residents in southwest Texas being urged to evacuate during severe downpours. Multiple flash flood warnings have been posted for the area. On Wall Street, ahead of this morning's opening bell, the Dow futures 19 points higher. NASDAQ futures down 300 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hi, I'm Kirk Cameron. Christian Healthcare Ministries is not another health insurance policy. If you're tired of year-long contracts and pointless restrictions, CHM offers anytime enrollment on your schedule and at your convenience. With CHM, you're paying half the cost of a traditional health insurance plan. So that puts more money back into your budget for everyday needs. Plus, you'll have access to CHM's care solutions for virtual appointments, prescription savings, surgery support, and more. My family and I joined in 2018, and it's changed our lives for the better. We love paying way less while helping other believers afford their medical bills. Take the leap of faith and see why Christians across the nation are better with CHM.
Get started by calling 1-833-JOIN-CHM and use promo code WELLNESS for a 50% credit towards your first month. That's 1-833-JOIN-CHM and use promo code WELLNESS.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch with your first alert forecast. Temperature is going to climb towards that 90-degree mark. It feels like temperature close to about 98 degrees this afternoon. Some scattered showers and storms after the noon hour. That'll continue to follow towards the first half of the overnight hours. Some moderate downpours going to be expected. Friday, very similar conditions. Coverage decreased just a tad bit and will continue to rise as we head towards the upcoming weekend with it feels like temperature close to 101 into Saturday, 97 degrees into Sunday. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stigall, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stigall financial advisor at stigall.com. That's STIFEL.com.
When Donald Trump needs conservative votes to help pass his agenda for Missouri, Representative Tricia Burns never answers the call. Tricia Burns has missed 370 votes. Burns is bucking President Trump's priorities. Burns did not vote to stop DEI initiatives, prevent China from owning Missouri land, defund Planned Parenthood, and Burns did not vote to ban boys from girls' sports. Tricia Burns not showing up for Missouri and President Trump. Instead, Tricia Burns spends her time pulling pranks on the suicide prevention hotline. Yes, you heard that right. Tricia Burns lied to the police and staged a fake suicide emergency. She sent a series of messages to the hotline and said she, quote, had a gun to her head, end quote. When she got caught, she said there'd be no consequences because she's a politician. By August 4th, vote to show Tricia Burns that there are consequences to being bad at your job. Cut the Bullpack paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
The Vic Borselli Show.
Hi, it's Ken. There was just a rare House maneuver made that could have just handed conservatives a major opportunity. We'll talk with Tony Kinnett from the Daily Signal about that Thursday at 11:05.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
Well, I'm sick and tired of smart guys.
Susie Moore.
Get out of here and stop playing victim.
Get up, in case you hear the alarm. Get up, St. Louis.
We have federal regulations that prohibit hunting duck, and yet it's legal to hunt humans.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, I want to follow up on a couple of those gun stories that we just had here. Obviously, St. Louis, like most big cities, I mean, St. Louis isn't, by big city, St. Louis is a small big city in America, okay? You want to see a big city, go to L.A., you go to Houston, you go to Chicago, you go to New York, you go Denver, a place like that, are a lot bigger than St. Louis. But St. Louis has a disproportional crime and violence problem. Media likes to call it gun violence, gun crime. Okay, well, people are the ones committing the crimes, but people are getting shot regularly. I mean, on the east side, you just had basically an entire family targeted. A teenager is now facing charges as well. So, quote-unquote, gun violence in the news in St. Louis again. So can free gun locks and public awareness campaigns about gun control laws make some kind of difference on it? I'm not going to fault somebody for trying to address the problem, but you want to make sure that you're, one, doing something that's going to make a difference. And then secondly, with the Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco and Firearms, first of all, anytime they step forward and say, hey, we have an idea, I'm going to be on guard. I honestly just am. So the Urban League, let's start there. The Urban League responding to recent, because there have been multiple young people who have been shot, and now there's young people who have been charged. And they're saying we need to put a new emphasis on gun locks. And when I'm driving, for instance, over to through the Illinois side, like going to Fairview Heights to play my baseball games, or O'Fallon, Illinois, there's a big billboard that talks about storing your gun safely. Doesn't talk about any laws or anything like that. It's just like, hey, store your gun safely. Well, you shouldn't have to tell people that. And vast majority of gun owners get the responsibility because we understand how powerful these things are. These aren't toys. We understand that. The people who are accidentally or, just murdering, they don't understand always or appreciate how powerful these things are. With that personal freedom and right comes a lot of responsibility.
Oh, yeah.
So with the giveaway that's happening on Saturday, the Urban League and some churches in the Urban Core, they're giving away the gun locks. I don't have any issue with that. I just would caution people into falling into a false sense of security that's going to make a real dent in a lot of these issues. The so-called gun crime that's happening isn't happening because somebody couldn't unlock a gun safe, a gun lock fast enough. It's because of guys who have them stuck down the back of their pants and they're out in doing gang warfare and they're getting in the. So that's where that's happening. But could the gun lock have prevented the tragedy of this 10-year-old boy shooting his 11-month-old niece? Sure, that probably could have stopped that, because the father of the little girl was so reckless and stupid that he just shoved the gun under his mattress when the 10-year-old boy knew exactly where it was and has told police, yeah, I played with it before. I pointed that thing. I know how that thing works, which is why that 10-year-old is now charged with murder. 11, I think he's 11 now. Charged with murder. So I don't have any beef with the gun lock for, giveaway or people being encouraged to use or being shown how to use it. If you live in a high crime area and you're worried about somebody breaking into your house, seconds may matter. Keep that in mind. But it's on you to keep that gun out of the hands of children. Period.
Yeah.
It's on you. And that father of that 11-month-old absolutely should be held criminally liable for this.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt. And Allison beat me to the punch here, but teach your children gun safety, and that will do more to protect everybody, especially domestically, than gun locks or gun safes or anything of that nature would. Because as the dilemma that you point out is that you don't want to necessarily have to fumble around unlocking a gun safe if somebody has already broken into your house with ill intention. But the statistics also show a different story. So I looked it up while we were talking. In last year, there were 14,651 shooting deaths, but 51% of those were self-inflicted.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to keep in mind when we hear all these scary numbers, realize that a lot of the time it's people that are going through some sort of mental struggle and they succumb to that. of the 7,000 some odd that are left over, there are negligent discharges that happen. There are times where children access a firearm. There are times, where it's not necessarily intentional. So the actual number of people that are being victimized by firearms, it's still too high. I agree.
Sure.
But the largest percentage of in the home, it's either domestic disputes or it's somebody accessing a firearm that shouldn't have access to it, such as a child. The way that you are able to circumvent that is, I would think personally, and if I had kids, this is how I would do it, because I own multiple firearms. I would definitely keep one on me at all times. I carry everywhere I go. And then anything that I'm not immediately planning on using will be locked up and kept out of there. But I would also, you have to have the conversation to say, look, these are not toys. These are damaging and devastating effects to treating them like toys. You don't touch the gun. Right. Even if if you know where it's at. There's nothing wrong with even moving your firearms to a different part of the house if your young one is fascinated by them. Because kids get fixated on stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to: is you have to establish, the stove is hot. You don't touch the stove. You don't touch the iron. You don't play, run with scissors, and you don't go and try to look for mommy and daddy's firearms and wave them around and think that they're fun.
You know where I took I had my first gun safety class in my public high school in the 80s. Mm-hmm. It was after hours. The Illinois Department of Conservation came in, and it was a hunter safety course. And you needed to take that to get, your permit and your patch and all that sort of thing. And I that's where I took the first actual formal class. Now I knew to be careful around guns because we had guns in the house growing up. Hunting rifles mostly. My dad was a former police officer. He had a couple of handguns, but you try to say, what we're going to do? Let's teach gun safety in the schools. And what you would have is a revolt in the entire public school community, especially in the areas like the city of St. Louis, which would be one of the smartest things you could do. Even if you just let parents opt in, probably not many would opt in because we don't think about the responsibility. We think about the inanimate object as well. Now, speaking of the guns themselves, the ATF, we've had this in the news dump. They're now announcing basically a new public service campaign, new public informational awareness campaign. And the website is like don'tlie.something or other. And it's basically saying if we catch you lying on these federal background forms, purchase, all the things, all of the bureaucracy you need to go through to exercise your Second Amendment, quote unquote, right. That if you lie on the form and you're trying to get a gun for somebody who's prohibited, a felon,
try and buy.
Yeah, then you go to jail.
Yep.
Okay. So there are people who are legitimately barred from owning firearms because they've committed violent crimes.
Yes.
Yeah. And I understand, just like the father of this 11-month-old little girl being held criminally liable, that there could be some crimes and stuff. I also want to caution people, because everybody goes, hey, this makes sense. Every one of those forms that you're asking the federal government permission to exercise your Second Amendment right, every single one of those is unconstitutional. Mm-hmm. You should not have to go through that. Now, you go through the some of the biggest, most knowledgeable Second Amendment enthusiasts, including the shows we have on this here. They know these forms in and out. Now, that doesn't mean they like them, but they understand them.
Yeah.
We talked to, Aaron Charlo, or we talked to Aaron Dorr, or and they know these forms, because they're trying to advocate so you can exercise your right. I don't think it's the government's business whether I own a gun or not, because I have a right to self-defense and I have a right to keep and bear arms, and you don't ask permission for that. But that's where we are. If you say that's how I'm going to go, I'm not going to ask him for permission. Understand that you could run into legal consequences, even if those legal consequences are unconstitutional. That's still the reality, especially on the Illinois side. Missouri is a constitutional carry state.
Yeah, and the other thing to keep in mind with all this when it comes, because I've talked to some very interesting gun control advocates, like, well, universal background checks, and then you have to buy insurance on it, and yada, 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 whatever the case may be. The majority of guns that are used for actual criminal activities are you're not going to the gun shop, filling out the form, and then getting your background checked, and then, I just happen to be a violent felon, oopsie daisy. It's quite literally people that are doing what are called straw purchases, where they are buying it for the people, or they are stealing a firearm, and then they will go somewhere. They're already breaking state transportation laws, and the majority of most of the guns that end up in Chicago for the gangs come from neighboring states because they can't get them in Illinois.
Right.
It does not stop them.
On Rumble, by the way, Allison said there was a big gun show in Washington, Missouri this past weekend, and I think it was the Washington Guard, I think, was sponsoring it, and she said they caught several people trying to do straw man purchases.
Yeah.
Out there, and so it happens, and the system is being abused in part because the system's there.
Yeah.
Are bad guys going to get guns no matter what? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you were picking up the story there. Go ahead and pick that up in Chicago. I mean, for instance, I had a a burglary in my home years and years ago, and I lost a 357 Magnum, custom made Brazilian. It was beautiful, but God knows where that is now. And it was hidden away. They had to rifle through everything in my place, and they found it, and it was hidden. It wasn't locked because I wanted it for self-defense, but I don't know where that gun is now. It was reported. They took the ammo with it and everything, but it was a beautiful gun. It was my grandfather's. Really makes me mad. God knows where that gun is now. I don't know. Now, we reported it. I mean, if something happens with it, I'm obviously off the hook on it. But I just want that's how those things end up there. Whoever was stopped at the straw man purchase over this weekend, they're going to find another way.
Yeah, no, because again, it's not illegal in most jurisdictions to do private sales of firearms,
right?
And nor should it be. No, people have the idea of the gun show loophole, which has never been a thing, but that was a big talking point of the Biden administration, and it's just ridiculous. So, if you want to cut down on this stuff, one, I would argue that we would need more firearms. We need more people that are willing to defend themselves, and the biggest thing, period, is look at how many of these people that are committing violent crimes in general, regardless of if it's a firearm or a hammer or a knife or fists and feet, it's recidivist. It's people that have already had a pattern of criminal behavior that keep getting out. If you are not somebody that can be trusted not to be violent upon release, then you should not be released.
Right.
If you cannot be trusted with a firearm upon release, you stay in the box. You stay wherever you're at. If you can be, then we need to look at how we can have a rehabilitative out of jail thing to where we can get you to a point where, okay, now you can have your rights back again. That's really the solution at this point.
All right, got some thoughts on that. Send us some notes on social media here. A little bit later on, I'm just going to throw this out there. Give you some time to prep. Let's do 8:35. Let's do this one. We've got the elections coming up. State legislative races on both sides of the river. Obviously, Illinois is going to be electing a U.S. senator. All the Congress critters are up in the House. What are those red lines that say, I don't care about anything else? If they believe this or they've done this, no. Or if they believe this, yes. What are those issues that say, that's my red line. That's my line in the sand. Whatever cliche you want to use. That's the thing that would make me say yes or no to any particular candidate. Let's talk about that a little bit later on.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your cousin God. Get up, what are you waiting for? Get up.
I talk a lot about how I've changed my diet and following the advice of my friends at Nutrition Stop, and I feel so much better. I've lost more weight. I've leaned out. I'm stronger than I've been in many years, and I'm 54 years old. Mike Ferguson here for Nutrition Stop. Let me tell you about something else, pain management. A lot of times we're like, I got a little bit of a headache, or man, that joint's hurting. Let me pop a couple ibuprofen or something. Well, listen, long-term use of that, not good at all. And you can preventatively address that pain. And there are some products at Nutrition Stop that are completely natural. They're naturally based. They're not just naturally based, they're natural. Herbal. They're curcumin and turmeric based, and they're anti-inflammatory, and they're all natural, and they are designed to work with your body. And Ryan and Barbara over there at Nutrition Stop, when I was telling them, I play baseball, just aches and pains are part of it with joints because I'm a catcher. And they're like, it doesn't have to be, not even at your age, because they're younger than I am. And they said, try this just daily, give it a week or so, and then what you're going to find is the anti-inflammatory is going to start working, and you're going to have less pain. I'm like, well, okay, but I've always had joint pains, and just it's kind of the way it was because of what I do for my hobby. I don't feel it anymore. I don't feel that pain. Guys that I play ball against and play ball with, after a game, they are hurting bad. Not so much with me because I listen to my friends at Nutrition Stop. That expertise matters so much. You want to make yourself healthy again? You want to make your family healthy again? Yes, they've got all natural food. They've got great supplements, but they can also help you with your pain management. NutritionStop.com, or just stop by on Mexico Road in St. Peters. Look up NutritionStop.com, put Nutrition Stop in your maps. It'll take you right there and say, hey, Mike said I need to come to you with some of these questions. They will help you out the way they've helped me.
License number GL2500615.
You're cooking dinner. The lights go out. You flip the breaker and forget about it.
But what if it keeps tripping?
Trips once, your breaker's doing its job. Keeps tripping? That's a warning. Bad wiring, or something worse.
Do people just keep flipping it?
Most do, until they can't anymore.
Call Grasser. We'll stop the trip.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
Let's take a break.
Good idea.
Hey, Tom, what are you doing on that Amendment 4?
You know we fought for our freedom and rights. I'm not giving them away without a fight.
4 takes them?
That's exactly what 4 does. For over 100 years, Missouri voters have used our constitutional power to act when the politicians refused. I'll be darned if I'm voting to pass on less freedom and power to my kids.
And doesn't 4 also kill majority rule?
Yup. Creates minority rule, or just 5% of the most liberal statewide voters in one Missouri congressional district that block any citizen-led reform, making it nearly impossible to pass common-sense conservative citizen ballot measures.
That's crazy town stuff.
And we've needed our citizen ballot measure power to pass some big conservative stuff, like outlawing tax hikes without voter approval, lobbyist reforms, and term limits for career politicians.
No way I'm letting a tiny fraction of liberals derail our conservative power. I'm no on Amendment 4.
Hard no on 4.
Petty 4 buttons are inch per care governance.
Thanks for taking my call.
News, analysis, opinion.
Radio news junkie. Love every bit about it.
News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL.
I don't make any apologies for being pro-life.
Nor should you.
None whatsoever. And I am also one of those who, came back around. I mean, I grew up being pro-life because I grew up in a very conservative household. And then, of course, get to college and you think you're smarter than everybody else. And I want to go with the flow and be with the cool kids. And it's not cool to be pro-life. And then I started thinking about it. And I'm like, no, wait a minute. And then my son was born. And, when you see the ultrasound, you realize that's a human life. And that's where I came back around. And I just don't apologize for being pro-life at all. But we've devalued life in this culture. In the U.S., Western civilization. And tragically, and this is one of the areas where we've got this right-left divide, I think that for a while, the Republicans and the conservatives were afraid of the issue of life. And they started compromising on it. And then it's ended up costing many lives, millions, literally, of lives. But it's also torn at the fabric of who and what we are. You cannot have a strong society and a strong culture. I'm not talking about a government. I'm talking about a culture if you don't value the most basic part of it, which is life. And we're seeing how low this can go with this case that's coming out of Canada. And we had it in the news dump, and I mentioned it earlier, and it is so bizarre. So there's a gay couple, 2 guys, who wanted a child. Well, that's not unusual. I've got my thoughts on that, but that's not relevant to this right here. And so they hire a woman to be a surrogate, and they take basically an embryo made of an egg, and then they put contributions of both of the guys there on it, which biologically doesn't make any sense, but I guess so they don't know who actually was the biological father or something like that. And then they have this contract for surrogacy. And this woman is carrying their child, which, first of all, shame on her for doing that, knowing this was for. But having said that, she's doing the prenatal appointments. They're doing all the scans and the ultrasounds and all this kind of stuff. And they say, ooh, this child looks like may have a cleft lip. And there looks like there might be a minor heart defect. And you found the story in the New York Post. I'd actually seen it on Town Hall as well. And so the 2 guys sent her a note saying, no, go ahead and abort it. We're done with it. Here, our contract says that we can tell you to. And she went, no, I'm not doing that. Well, it turns out the child was born. It had some complications in birth, and she tried to do a home birth, and they ended up taking her to the hospital. And there was a scary moment there, but the baby got through okay. Little bit of a cleft lip, it looks like, which is incredibly fixable. And then even the minor heart defect is not going to be a factor. So all the news reports say this child's going to live a fully healthy life. And so per their contract, these two guys take the baby after she has the baby. And now they're suing her for $600,000 Canadian, essentially for wrongful birth. We told you to kill this child, and now we have this child who has defects. Minor defects, but has defects. We told you to kill this child. We were going to go try again somewhere else. Okay, that's gross. These two guys are just gross human beings. At some point, this child's going to Google search, or somebody's going to say, hey, aren't you? And they're going to look and find out that the two men rented a womb and then told her to kill this child and then sued because they were stuck with this child. Where does all that come from? It comes from us devaluing life. That's why things like, for instance, Amendment 3 in Missouri is so crucial right now. It's the best we can do at the moment. And it's pretty darn good. But that goes to that line of thinking that says, if you devalue the most innocent of human life, everything else is going to crumble. And that's what we're seeing right now. So it's not about partisanship. It's not about religion. It's about one of the foundational ethos of Western civilization that we have kicked to the curb, and we need to reclaim it, not in a partisan political way, not in a religious way, although religion, true faith, supports that. And this is what it leads to, is disposable children because there was a flaw, like there was a flaw on the purse, or there was a run in the, a string on the suit jacket. Oh, this wasn't perfect. I'm taking it back. I'm going to go get another one. And that's what we're equating human life to in some of these cases.
Narcissistic sociopathy.
Without a doubt.
I mean, the inability for them to put themselves in their now child's position to say, okay, being taken away from your mother, not actually having a father, but actually having this couple that wants to buy you like a tea kettle little puppy that they're going to carry around and flaunt around.
Right.
And, oh, you're not perfect enough. You're going to make us look bad because we can't have a little defective baby around us. What will people think about us?
Be more work than we want.
Yeah, he's actually it's going to take actual effort to raise him. Maybe just throw it away.
Yeah,
just throw it in the garbage where it belongs. Right? You sick, disgusting people. I mean, and I have my own issues with surrogacy in general.
Sure.
I think we may disagree a little bit. I'm a little bit more okay when it comes to same-sex couples adopting in general because
we see that a little bit differently.
Yeah, and I mean because the system as is needs a whole. I mean there's a lot of things that need to be fixed. And I've met some people that are just horrible things happen while they were in the protective care of the
that I
state.
agree with you. Yeah,
but there is no world where anybody with any moral conscience, you have zero soul in your body if you think it's okay to purchase babies fresh out of the womb from somebody and then to turn around and sue the person that gave birth to them, even though part of the DNA is, what are you mad that you don't have perfect genetics? I mean, what is it's insanity. And I do feel for that kid. And I would love, I mean, I don't want to call for like a GoFundMe or something, but then to be the woman that is like, wait a sec, these crazy dudes, I accepted their money. I have a contractual obligation to hand over this baby that came out of me. I can't even imagine what that would feel like. But then, oh, by the way, because you didn't throw it in the garbage and murder it, we're going to sue you and get money out of you. No, you take these two guys and you say, okay, you can go live on the island by yourself now. Like you're no longer part of society. You don't get to say goodbye.
Yeah. And that all starts, like I said, when we got to the point to say that human life is optional. We don't protect it, especially the most vulnerable, especially the most innocent. And then we wonder how that cascading effect gets us to where we are right now. And here's the thing is that there's somebody watching us or listening right now, Jerome, who goes, there's nothing wrong with what these guys did. That's their right.
And you have no soul either.
There are those who have been so conditioned for abortion to be a sacrament that any opposition to it, even somebody who chooses, a woman who chooses to continue that pregnancy, is now going to be the subject of their ire because it's about the sacrament of abortion, because it's about that cause. And over the course of even the life that I've had, being involved and understanding politics and culture and that going from my teens up until now in my 50s, I've seen it evolve from the pro-abortion side originally saying, we're not pro-abortion. Stop saying that. That's lying. That's making us sound like a monster that we're not. We're pro-choice. It should be safe, legal, and rare. Nobody thinks it's a good thing. We just think that there are some cases where it's necessary even if it's a bad thing. Now, it's a matter of campaigning for, hey, shout your abortion, celebrate it. Lives are truly disposable. It's empowering. It's health care. Oh, and by the way, you don't have to be a woman to have one. I mean, the over the course of really 40 years, the deterioration isn't about the issue itself. I think that has been caught up in the deterioration of one of the most foundational things that any civilization, any civilized people should have as a key foundation, and that is respect for the human life and the most vulnerable life.
For the people that have made women's rights such a core pillar of their ideology, when I was at least growing up, look at how they've devalued and put down women and really made it the most reductionist. You're not even a woman. You are a birthing person.
Right.
Because men who want to believe and pretend to be women matter more than you, and you can't offend them. So you need to be called something something disrespectful that feels gross to say, and we're going to devalue you down to to your reproductive ability, because that's all we view you as. By the way, give your baby over to this gay couple and give them money if you don't want to murder it
for a wrongful birth.
And shame on whoever because there had to have been somebody that knew that he was trying to get them to contractually have the abortion. Anybody that is part of the State Department or a part of that agreement that was still handed over the baby after the parents wanted it dead, shame on you, and you have no soul either. Yeah, I try not to get this worked up, man, but a society like this that does not protect the young and does not value life like that is not a society worth valuing. And then we wonder why they have medically assisted suicide as a treatment option when you are in a bad mood. It's ridiculous. Now, to all the people that do have souls that are good individuals,
take a breather,
that do actually do something of value and productive for our society, there's going to be a massive suit giveaway that's coming from Heroes Care. They're doing a 1,000 suit giveaway to say thank you to everybody who serves and sacrifices. So that is anybody who is active duty, retired guard or reserve, anybody in the military, police, fire, or EMS. All you have to do is just show up with your ID, and a suit is yours. That'll be going on Saturday, July 18th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Heroes Care store in Gravois Village Center in High Ridge. Once again, for those who serve and sacrifice every day, we just want to say thank you.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Thursday. Is this Thursday?
I think so.
Thursday? Oh, no, it can't be. It's still gruesome.
On News Talk STL.
What's so gruesome about Thursday?
Nothing, except I can never remember when it's coming up.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Scott with your first alert forecast. Temperature is going to climb towards that 90-degree mark. It feels like temperature close to about 98 degrees this afternoon. Some scattered showers and storms after the noon hour. That'll continue to follow towards the first half of the overnight hours. Some moderate downpours going to be expected. Friday, very similar conditions. Coverage decreased just a tad bit and will continue to rise as we head towards the upcoming weekend with the feels like temperature close to 101 into Saturday, 97 degrees into Sunday. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Scott.
Fox News commentary with Jimmy Fallon next.
I'm David Ortiz. When I lost my mom, she was only 46, and I lost my dad to cancer. It was the worst pain I ever felt. It made me think, what will happen with the people I love when my time is up? That's why I have life insurance. Ethos makes it easy. It's all online, take about 10 minutes, and you can get up to $3 million in coverage.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid testimonial. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Here's Jimmy Fallon.
The Democrats have a radical wing of the party that might be economically illiterate, but they have a lot of momentum and they have a lot of donor money, because for as much as we hate the idea of nominating people who hate America, who want to blow Israel off the map, who don't recognize the rights of gays and other minorities in the Middle East, and they don't. That's the reality of Middle East. Okay, they are talking about helping the working class. They are forcing a conversation that lazy people gravitate towards because they think the government's going to be able to solve their problems. Unfortunately, the government needs money. They get it from you and me. And when the government raises taxes, people leave, and now the tax bill goes up on the little guy, and you get screwed. That's why socialism, that's why all these big entitlement programs never work. But they're talking about them, and there's traction.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
State Freedom Caucus Unfiltered, Sunday nights at 7 on News Talk STL. Hear all the behind-the-scenes stories about what the State Freedom Caucus is doing across the country, directly from the legislators and the people that are doing it. State Freedom Caucus Unfiltered, this Sunday night at 7 with your host, Tim Jones. State Freedom Caucus Unfiltered, now Sunday nights at 7 on News Talk STL.
JC's Wayback Machine.
After Phil Collins went solo in 97, Genesis tried to carry on with a new lead singer. You'll hear how that went. The A-list interview of the week is with Caesar Milan, the dog whisperer, and it's the anniversary of the moon landing on Monday. We'll go lunar on you with songs about the cold-hearted orb that rules the night. All brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group.
It's JC's Wayback Machine. Every Saturday night, 6 to 9 on News Talk STL.
Looking for a fresh eating alternative for you and your family? Head on over to CJ's Restaurant and Bar in O'Fallon. CJ's literally offers something for everyone, from young to old. We're a casual American eatery with a wide-ranging menu of pastas, salads, and sandwiches, all served in a comfortable, warm environment with a family-friendly atmosphere. From vegetarian options to hearty classics. We offer dine-in, carry-out, catering, and even have a banquet room for your special events. Come see us or visit us on the web at cjsofallon.com.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Wherever I'm at, home, car, wherever.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Just the convenience on the phone.
Streaming live on the mobile app.
Love the new app.
And listen anytime.
Everywhere.
Anywhere.
The Mike Ferguson Show is one of my favorite programs. In addition to Larry Connor's USA, catch my program at 6. Now, back to Mike.
All right, I mentioned this a little bit ago. I just want to point out such a basic question. Tim Jones, you can hear him every afternoon with Chris Arps from 4 to 6, former Missouri Speaker of the House. You all know that. He calls this campaign silly season. And so true.
For good reason.
For a lot of good reasons. And, you know, we just spoke with, for instance, Chris Stigall running for Congress. That podcast is going to be up shortly here if you want to hear that discussion. That's a pretty hot race as far as primaries go. There's, 4 or 5 candidates running in that race. A lot of people think it's really down to Chris and one other person as well. So that's going to be an important primary race. And then whoever wins that primary is going to be the next congressman for, frankly, as long as he wants, just the way that the maps are drawn. But it got me thinking, here we are in this election cycle. The political ideologies and everything have been so turned on their head in the past 10 years. You know, Donald Trump has upset the apple cart in good ways and bad ways, both. And I just want to ask a very basic question. What is it about a candidate? What is your line in the sand to say, I will vote for that person, or absolutely not, I will not vote for that person? Now, for some people, that's going to be as simple as, are they Republican or Democrat? One way or the other. If they're Republican, that's good enough for me. If they're Democrat, that's good enough for me. You look at, for instance, in Maine, I got to think that there's a lot of people who are centrist and center left and even farther left who go, boy, I really don't like the fact that he's kind of a Nazi. But, if Graham Plattner's a Democrat nominee, then I'll go ahead and vote for him. Even though I know that, he's an abusive piece of crap and everything that goes with him. But they're a Democrat, that's good enough. Republicans have had crap candidates as well. But he's a piece of garbage, but you know what? He's our piece of garbage. Okay, so is that one of them? Others have specific issues. I'm talking about the kind of issue that says, even if they're in my party. If that's where they stand, no. Or even if I'm not wild about them or I like more candidates, this is the thing that makes me say that's the one. So I'm curious. Send me a note. Give me a call, 314-912-1019. I've got a few of those because my take on this is that when you look at the state of the Democratic Party right now, it's been a long time since I voted for a Democrat. I've done it, but it's been a long, long, long time. I can't bring myself to vote for any Democrats right now. There is no such thing as a pro-life Democrat. There's no such thing as a true pro-Second Amendment Democrat anymore. There used to be, but even in my lifetime, there was. But that doesn't mean I'm automatically just going to vote for the Republican because they're the Republican. They still have to earn my vote.
Yep.
And then right now, there are some people who say, well, are they endorsed by Donald Trump? And if they are, good enough for me. I'm not even going to look into all of the other issues. If Donald Trump says they're okay, then they're okay.
I've met him.
I know a lot of those people. And then there's others that say, well, does Donald Trump endorse him? Then no. So it goes all different directions on this. So what is it that's your either absolute green flag, this tells me yes, or absolute stop sign, this tells me no?
Well, I don't like to be a single issue voter, but I think that there are certain things.
There are single issue voters out there.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
And I'm not even going to criticize them on that.
No, I don't fault anybody for being a single issue voter because I have my own. I mean, you could give me 99% of what I've ever wanted, but then you say, yeah, but by the way, we're going to do a magazine capacity limit on your firearms, or you have to turn in your AR or whatever.
Right.
Okay, you just lost my vote. Like, do not deprive me of any of my own ability to make for my own self my decisions to either defend myself, to pursue capital for myself, to live a lifestyle, to express myself how I see fit.
Yeah.
If you cross any of those three lines, I don't care if you were about to give me hundreds of millions of dollars. You've just lost my support.
Yeah, and there's a few of those issues. Somebody who says, well, I've got some. If they're great on taxes, they may be pro-life, et cetera. But they say, there are some areas where we can do some common sense gun control. Yeah, you've lost me.
Yeah, and vice versa. If you are really good on gun rights, if you're really good on the economy. But by the way, we just need to censor. You gotta make sure people can't be talking about this online. People can't be saying this in public. Okay, you just lost me again.
Right.
I don't. Those are it's not a single issue, of course, but again, the more constitutionally aligned you are with the Bill of Rights, specifically the first 10, because they're the ones that really matter. Then I am at least willing to give you a shot, regardless of if you're a blue donkey, red elephant, a whatever the libertarian weirdos have as their symbol. But at the same time, though, I want somebody that is going to look good, not just in the sense of physical features, but somebody that when you look at them, they make you want to be a better citizen. Yeah. I want somebody that it's not just all we owned our opponents and we won. I want somebody that can have a sense of humor, of course, but I don't want somebody that's the reason why I have to support you is because you're not them, or because you are so good at roasting them, and you don't have to actually give me anything of substance as long as it makes my opponents cringe and feel bad because you're better than them. I mean, that's not the politics that I want to see anymore.
Yeah. So I think we're seeing a lot of that because what happens in a lot of cases, they say, okay, well, in the general election, your single issue things or whatever, that's for the primaries, but in the general, well, you got to stick with the team. But what if your nominee violates some of your core principles and beliefs on, for instance, life issues, on Second Amendment issues, on freedom of speech issues, on religious freedom issues?
Or what if your candidate stays on principle and the party's attitude changes and they start towing the line against the party?
Yeah, and that's what we're seeing. For instance, and this isn't. We've talked about this. President Trump has pulled the Republican Party leftward towards the center.
Yes.
It is much more of a populist centrist party than it used to be. I've said many times that he defeated the far left when he was elected. He also defeated the conservative movement.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he's found areas to incorporate people who are truly conservative, not just into his cabinet, but into others. He's playing nice with conservatives, but he's not a conservative.
No.
He's appointed constitutionalist judges. He's been excellent on that. And so the judiciary has been good for conservatism, but in and of himself, he's not an ideological conservative. So the Republican Party is going to have to decide, okay, are we going to become post-Trump after the 2028 elections? are we going to become a conservative party again? Or are we going to continue with this sort of populist route? I don't know what they're going to do. And then what happens if you've got somebody who says, I'm a conservative, it's time to return to the conservatism, of Reagan and many of the others. And others, I can see that faction happening, saying basically, no, MAGA won, let's keep being the populist MAGA thing. You could see that, and then voters are going to have choices between those sorts of things.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And we're in a very interesting time, I think, with where the parties historically have stood versus what the is it just because they're not as bad as the alternative? Caporal Being says that his red line is to choose the mix of best policy plus most trustworthy character out of the viable options. 101 straight up says, I am not a single issue voter, but there are issues I am not going to negotiate on, being pro-life, and 2A are two of them. And I think that's kind of, that's a general attitude. It's either you are so far out of the left field pocket that it is empowering to be promiscuous and then abort every single baby you have. And if you disagree with that, if you don't think trans people should be able to get abortions, then you must be a bigoted, evil racist. And there are also the people on the opposite end where it's like, no, you have to, you cannot step out of toe when it comes to what we do as a party, because otherwise the Democrats win. It's like, that's not very good options.
At some point, hey, we're not as bad as them can't be the winning argument.
Yeah, but you're not as good as you could be. Why don't we focus on that instead?
Yeah, exactly.
What could be even better, even though it's going to feel weird to say, is Flashback Friday. Today is this very minute is the last chance you're going to have to submit your 80s themed bump music request for Flashback Friday tomorrow. We've already got some really good requests, but we got room for a few others. And if you don't submit your pick, I don't want to hear you complaining about how you didn't like any of the songs that we played, because it's all user submitted.
You can't win if you don't play.
Exactly. So unlike the lottery, it's like a reverse lottery. You actually get a guaranteed chance to win if you submit your song. So Jerome at NewsTalkSTL.com, and let me know what time you listen so you can hear your request.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Our country was founded by geniuses, but it's being run by idiots.
On News Talk STL.
When it comes to your home, it needs to be more than just a place that keeps the rain off of you when the bad weather moves in. It's where you build your memories. And you don't build those memories just in the living room. You can also build them in the yard. And you can build them on that patio. You can build them over the cookouts. You can build them over the holiday parties. That's why you got to talk to my friends at STL Fenceworks. Mike Ferguson here for STL Fenceworks. The website, stlfenceworks.com, really easy to remember. They can build it, and they can improve your quality. When I say they can build it, how about that fencing? And not only do you have their professional crews, but they have American-made products, and they have materials that are guaranteed and treated so that you're not out there every year or every other year retreating, restaining, trying to keep the bugs out of it, trying to keep the termites out of it. They will do it once, and they will do it right. And then that deck, hey, who doesn't love a beautiful deck? So you can call your buddies and try to pay them in barbecue and beer and see how that works out for you long term, or you can get a great product at a great price with STL Fenceworks. Listen, look them up on Better Business Bureau. Look them up on the rating sites. And what you can see is this local business does the job right because their reputation's on the line and they're part of the St. Louis community as well. STLFenceworks.com, and check out the estimate button. You can get a virtual reality look at what that fence might do for your home. STLFenceworks.com.
This is Brandon from Reach. On July 18th, we are hosting Unfiltered, a one-day conference for youth and young adults where we'll be covering topics like relationships, identity, purpose, faith, and culture. We will have breakout sessions, worship, and real community for young adults to encounter. If you know a student or a young adult who needs to be in the room, get them signed up. Spots are limited, so don't wait. Register now at unfilteredstl.com.
Simply Health with Dr. Brian Deloney.
Fix the frame, fire up the furnace. This week, I'll be connecting joint repair, fat-burning exercises, and supplements like creatine, magnesium, psyllium, B vitamins, and TMG. You're going to learn how better tissue health may help you move better, heal better, and support a stronger metabolism.
Simply Health with Dr. Brian Deloney. Saturdays at noon on News Talk STL. To find out more about Simply Health Integrated Medical, log on to simplyhealthintegrated.com.
Oh, Adam, you are so romantic. And I love the kitchen you found with all these great crumbs.
Yeah, baby, only the finest crumbs in the kitchen for my favorite aunt. Oh no, it's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They always kill the mood.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888. We'd love to help you out. Learn more about our special $67 offer. You can visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Hi, it's Vic Porcelli.
And Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Hey, Vic.
Ken and I are on every Monday through Friday here on News Talk STL. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Whoosh, my morning people.
All right, there's a campaign to get St. Louisans to use gun locks. We'll tell you what's going on with that. And despite the Supreme Court's ruling, is a change to birthright citizenship still possible? I don't know that that's true, but we'll see. 8:51 right now. Let's do one more news dump here.
The Morning News Dump, brought to you by Great American Divers. The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks, the Morning News Dump.
So Jerome just clicked the button and the computer went, I'll think about it.
I'm telling you.
That's basically what happened.
With how much smack I'm talking about AI, they've infected our systems, and they're revolting against me now.
It's Soros the Gremlin, we're telling you. All right. That didn't take long. ICE reverses its pause on traffic stops after less than a day. Okay, so this comes despite the two shootings, one in Texas, one in Maine here, where they were officer involved. So Border Czar Tom Homan was on the Ingram Angle on Fox, and he says that Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen never intended that pause on traffic stops by federal law enforcement to be permanent.
He wanted to do a short-term pause just to make sure that the agents out there on these operations have the vehicle stop training, and do they have the tools necessary to keep safe.
And President Trump was pretty vocal on supporting the use of traffic stops in federal immigration enforcement. All right, a new campaign from the ATF is coming to St. Louis. KMOV's Corey Stark has the details with comments from U.S. Attorney for Eastern Missouri. His name is Tom Albus.
They are starting a campaign in the metro warning about the consequences if you help a loved one get a weapon they shouldn't have.
People are criminally responsible for lying on ATF forms in order to get weapons in the hands of people that couldn't fill out the forms themselves. And that's a felony criminal offense. The penalties for those offenses have been enhanced by Congress in recent years.
And you can get up to 10 years in prison for lying on a firearms form, and 15 years for buying a gun for someone who can't legally have one. Over the next few weeks, you're going to start seeing this campaign hoping to keep guns out of the hands of criminals.
All right, the Urban League and some churches in the region are asking people to use gun locks, and this is obviously following some just tragic situations, horrific situations where children have been shot. And in some cases, children are now charged with crimes for that. That campaign was announced yesterday. The groups are giving away the locks, pointing to the recent shootings of those children around the area. The giveaway is going to happen this Saturday morning. The Urban League has all of the details, but that's what they're pushing. So in this case, they're not pushing laws or gun control things, although they have been supportive of those. They're just asking everybody to do the gun locks, which, depending on where you are, you make your own call on that. If you need the gun handy for self-defense, that slows you down a lot. But if you got a lot of children in the home and you're using them just essentially for collector's items or hunting, well, maybe that's something you want to consider.
Yeah, I personally probably will not get a gun lock because I already have my own safety message. But if I had a roommate, if I had a child, it takes very little to just say common sense would say maybe don't leave your guns unattended. Yeah. And, if it's not on you, then you don't have total control over it. Mm-hmm. That's how people endanger by accident.
Exactly. All right. Former St. Louis City Sheriff Alfred Loaded Dice Montgomery has another legal headache. A former director in his office is now suing him and the city. Remember, he's in jail. Mm-hmm. He has been for months. Tashana Sias says she was fired in retaliation for cooperating with state and federal investigations into Montgomery while he was in office. Sias was the director of personnel and fiscal operations for the sheriff's office. She's asking to get her job back along with back pay and damages, and that accusation is frankly believable. If that's actually what happened, she's got a very, very strong case. Okay, the confirmation hearings for Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche began yesterday. Here's a big shock. Chuck Schumer is opposed to his nomination because before becoming Acting Attorney General, he was a lawyer in private practice who defended and represented who?
You can't have integrity if you represent Donald Trump because he is such an inveterate liar. And that person, of course, should never, never, never be Attorney General.
So every public defender that defends people that are in jail also have no integrity?
Basically, according to Chuck Schumer's
If
law.
you're accused of everything, you should just be put in jail right away?
Right.
All right.
Responding to that is Senator Mike Lee. He was on Fox News as the Ingram Angle.
He once represented President Trump, but that doesn't mean that he can't serve as Attorney General of the United States. The fact is, they don't like President Trump. They want to smear anyone associated with him.
Yeah, Chuck Schumer's argument there, that's just basic TDS. That's all that is.
It's almost as if our entire political system or the system of laws and order is based on the fact that you are innocent until proven guilty. And how do you make sure that you maintain your innocence? Oh, by having somebody represent you.
Right.
I don't understand how you have no integrity if you, I mean, who else would that apply to besides President Trump in this person's mind?
It would not. It would not.
What a joke.
Oh, my goodness. All right, the Supreme Court did rule, but is the debate over birthright citizenship still something that's ongoing? Okay, here's what's going on. Republican Senator Jim Banks, he's from Indiana, introduced a bill that would change who qualifies for birthright citizenship. He discussed it on Fox Business's The Evening Edit.
There is a moral duty that members of Congress like myself have to pass a bill to clarify that the children of illegals do not or should not be granted birthright citizenship is common sense.
Okay, so I agree with what he's saying there, but the Supreme Court actually issued the ruling based on constitutional principles, not just striking down the executive order saying you didn't have the authority. It's this is how we interpret the 14th Amendment. I think Susie put it best. This may just be a campaign issue, even though they're right about that. I think you're going to have to address the 14th Amendment before you can do this. That shows you how crucial border security actually is at this point. Whether you agree or disagree with the Supreme Court's ruling, that's where that's at. All right. Cardinals off again today. They start their post-All-Star break part of the season on Friday in Arizona against the Diamondbacks. And remember, the post-All-Star break part of the season is shorter than the pre-All-Star break part of it. So the All-Star break was not quite at the halfway point. So pressure's going to be on the Cardinals if they want to get into the playoffs. They got to go on a couple hot streaks here.